Welcome, everybody, to Armchair Expert. I'm Dan Rather, and I'm joined by an Emmy-nominated miniature mouse.
That's me.
Today, we have Busy Phillips. She is an actress, a writer, a producer, and a director. You know her from Freaks and Geeks, Dawson's Creek. Ooh, almost close. Dawson's Creek's. Well, she'll bring up White Chicks.
Yeah.
Real feather in her cap.
That's right.
Cougar Town, and of course, Busy Tonight. You probably follow her on Instagram, and she also has a book, This Will Only Hurt a Little. I really enjoyed talking to her.
Me too.
Yeah.
She's really fun.
She has a real straightforward, confident point of view, and I really got infected by it. I think you will too, so please enjoy Busy Phillips.
He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert. He's an armchair expert.
So, Busy, welcome to the podcast. Have you ever heard it? I would expect you not to.
No.
Just
Yeah, you
no
have
pressure.
Well, no,
Okay.
I was going to tell you this is a thing that people really dislike about me. I do not listen to podcasts. And I don't know why. And I did one for a minute with Steve Agee called We're No Doctors.
Okay.
Yeah.
I love AG. I didn't know we had a mutual friend in him.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So AG and I had a podcast together. He still does it called We're No Doctors. And I'll like jump in every once in a while and co-host with him. But I guess for me, I really enjoy my car time. I'm like a 90s teenager still.
Okay,
you know?
you're listening to...
I'm listening to my music. I'm rolling calls. I like to
Okay.
talk to people on the phone like a 90s teenager. So
Okay.
I'm calling friends from high school. I'm calling my parents.
Oh, you're...
I'm like,
oh, great.
I roll
Nice.
calls and I listen to music.
Did you have great telephone game in junior high? Like when you liked a boy and you got his number, were you great at conversing?
Yes. We had our own line.
Okay, great.
That's a big deal.
Private
Big,
line.
very
Oh,
huge
It's a big deal.
Mhm.
Yeah. I think do I still remember the phone number?
I remember
know.
mine.
What was-
Most of my passwords incorporate my junior high phone number. 248684.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really
And I think I
impressive.
remember Aaron Weekly's phone number probably too.
Wow.
My childhood best friend.
I remember Emily Beebe, my childhood best friend's phone number still by heart, but I can't say it because it's still her mom's phone number. Her mom still lives there. So.
Right. You might have to, in fact, you might have to bleep out a couple of the digits for the one I just
Why?
gave.
That's, whose phone number would that still
Well,
be?
presumably someone
It's
got that
someone.
phone
That's
number.
true, I
And if
guess.
people
That lucky
call
guy or
and say,
gal.
can I talk to seventh grade Dax?
Yeah.
They're going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Well, everyone involved will be disappointed, I
Yeah.
think.
I mean, it could be a whole thing.
So
Okay.
what age did mom and dad take you out of Illinois and then move you to, you went to Scottsdale?
5. Yeah. 5. Going into first grade, like 5, 6. I'm young for my grade, as they used to do. Now everybody red shirts because everyone read the same Malcolm Gladwell book.
That's
That's
right.
right. So everyone could be in the NHL.
Yeah, which is, that's what I'm gunning for with both my girls. But so I was going into first grade. We moved to Scottsdale, Arizona.
Which, what I know about Scottsdale is I used to go there often to work when I worked for General Motors. And it's a very ritzy suburb of Phoenix.
Yes.
And we would stay at the beautiful hotel that Frank Lloyd Wright's student designed, the Biltmore.
The Biltmore.
In Scottsdale. And I thought it was Eden. When I went
Yeah.
there when I was younger,
Yeah.
did you like it there?
No, it was really boring.
Okay,
And-
great. Perfect.
And it was just really suburban. It was like a very suburban upbringing. I always felt sort of other than, also I think obviously there's like a large contingent of conservative people that live there and are raising their children. And
Well, generally anywhere with money, you're going to find some conservative, fiscal conservatives, let's say.
yes. Yeah. And it was just, I think I was just sort of bored and I was like ready for the next thing, like the next chapter of my life. I was always like looking forward to where I was going to go.
Now, quick question. Did you ever eat at Flaky Jake's across the street from Red Devil Stadium, across from ASU?
No.
There was a strip mall across the street, and it had Flaky Jake's, and it was basically predated Fuddruckers, but
Yeah.
they had a humongous 2 large bars of toppings.
Ugh, the best.
It was beautiful.
I loved Fuddruckers so much.
Oh, yes.
We also like majorly had Fuddruckers and Houston's.
Houston's is our
And
number
Houston's
one.
was right across from the Biltmore when you stayed there. I don't know if you know that.
I wasn't hip yet to
Okay,
Houston, nor could I afford to eat there yet.
Sure.
Yes.
Well, that was like when we had like birthdays, special occasions, a graduation. My parents, we would get a table at Houston's.
So what did mom and dad do that they left Illinois and went to Scottsdale.
At the time, my mom didn't work. She was taking care of my older sister and me. My father he's retired. He was a nuclear engineer.
He was.
Yeah.
So he has a degree in nuclear physics or something?
No idea, but yeah.
Okay, perfect. But I would imagine
He went to Purdue.
he's a bright person.
Yes.
He is. And what kind of dreams did he have for you and your sister?
I don't know if that was of his generation to think about those things.
It wasn't on his radar.
I don't think it was.
He thought you might wed well, and that would be that.
I don't think that was even particularly on his radar. I think he was just like trying to move through life. My mom had wanted to be an actress. What a surprise. And had been accepted to a theater school, Circle in the Square Theater School in New York City when she was leaving high school, and her parents didn't want her to leave Chicago. And so she did not, and then did not become a professional actress.
And did she put on you and your sisters?
Yeah, I think my mom was, like she was definitely, I guess people would think of her as like a stage mom. You know, she really was encouraging of us to do theater and after school. I mean, but we really loved it too. Cause like, I'm sure you see with your kids, I see with my kids, like there are certain things that are just inherent, but you see it. Like from a very young age, they were like very performative. Like they want to put on shows and do things, and that's just in their little bodies.
Yes.
Brains.
I would say that our two children have inherited a flair for
gene.
performance. And the kinds do kind of mirror my wife and I think to some high percentage. Like the oldest one seems to be more what Kristen does, and then the littler one seems to be what I do. So that's fascinating to us.
My older one is definitely mirrors my husband, and then the little one is like, I'm raising myself. It's real trippy, like crazy.
Yes. And so, yes, to that point, I wonder, so I've never met a power struggle I wasn't up for. Bring it on. I'll do it till we're both dead. That's my nature. And my 4-year-old is that way as well. And I actually had to go back in time and go, oh, how did I deal with people who were ready to go to the end with me?
Right.
And I just wrote them off. Like I wrote my dad off. I have a capacity to write people off.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, I can't do this.
Right.
Or she will write me off.
Right.
Like I can see in her, she's like me, and I have got to change everything. Have you had any kind of breakthrough? Like you go, well, shit, how would I respond to this?
Yeah. I mean, for me, my older daughter's a little bit older, I think, than your oldest. And for me, the struggle has evolved with all of it. But I have a hard time not taking it personally.
Oh, yes.
And not relating to my kids like friends that are hurting my feelings. You know what I mean? Like I have to remind myself constantly that I am a parent, not their friend. And they're not acting maliciously. They're acting because they're figuring things out and testing boundaries. And my job is to like remain as sort of neutral as I sort of can emotionally so that I can show them the boundaries and appropriate ways to be and like how to live and how to be a person. And I think that's really complicated too if you're someone like me who feels like I still don't quite know how to be a person. So how am I supposed to help these people figure out how to be a person? Like we're all like struggling. You know?
Sure. Yeah. Do you feel a little codependent with people?
Yeah, I think for sure. But I'm also like, I was talking about this in therapy. Like I think people are either raised this way or just it's inherent. They're like an individualist and they are able to sort of take care of themselves and make things make sense for their world. And they expect that others are like behaving the same way. And so when someone, is like, I'm so hurt by you because X, Y, and Z. And then the individualist is like, you never told me that. I expect you to tell me that because if I were feeling that way, I would tell you that.
Right.
I'm not an individualist. I am like, I guess like a communalist or something, where I want to take care of other people's needs. And I expect that other people will see my needs and take care of them as well.
Right. And that's rife for conflict in relationships and parenting.
Especially if you marry or partner or give birth to an individualist.
Yes. I totally agree. And what's interesting, but you're the second born.
Yeah.
So what I would expect you to have, is your sister even more so a communalist people pleaser?
That's interesting. Yeah, I think somewhat.
Because here's my observation. I wonder if this maps onto your children at all, which is our younger daughter, she'd give a fuck if you're mad at her or if there's a consequence. And I was like, this is crazy. She must innately just be this way. But then I realized No. From the second she arrived in our house, she got rejected by her older sister all day long, every day. It's the nature of siblings.
Right.
You know, she can't be
Except
bothered.
How close are they?
They're close, 2 years.
Okay.
Less than 2 years.
My kids are 5 full years apart.
Uh-huh.
That didn't happen. There's no rejection. My older daughter thought it was her baby.
But really, even how about like at 3 and 8, she
Yeah.
doesn't feel put out that she wants to
No.
come along and, oh, okay, interesting.
No, the baby was like the baby. And we all loved the baby.
Okay.
Yeah, this is like a different dynamic.
Right.
The baby is like very sensitive.
Okay. All right.
Birdie, my older daughter, could give a fuck
Oh, okay.
about consequences or getting into. There's nothing. We always say disciplining Birdie is impossible because there's nothing you could take away. There's nothing you could say to her in that moment. Whatever it is that she wants or whatever's happening, she'll be like, "All right, so what? So take it all away. I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't care. You can't hurt me."
Yeah. Okay, so ours is flipped. Yeah, ours is flipped. And I thought it was just because she was so used to being rejected
Right.
that being rejected by me doesn't bother her either, or her mom. She's like, oh, yeah, the main person I want affection from is my older sister. And it's intermittent. And I've
Right.
learned to live through the lean times.
But maybe that's like healthy. Maybe that's a healthy thing to set up,
Exactly.
don't you think? What are you? I'm like, what are you? What do you
I'm
have?
firstborn, but
Oh.
I'm the same way you are. I am not an individual. So we just got in a sort of
Heated.
a fight, we'll say it, last week about this exact same dynamic because he wants me to say out loud and I like kind of expect
Yeah.
some understanding based on just knowing me. That,
Yes.
like, you know that I'm feeling this way.
Yeah.
So why do you need me to say that out loud?
Right.
So we just went through.
And my answer is just in general, I'm not a clairvoyant. I wish I was, but I don't know people's needs until they tell them to me. I mean, I have obviously some awareness of people's needs, but I'm not sure why someone's mad unless they tell me why they're mad. And particularly my brain, I am very compulsive and I obsess. So if you're mad and you don't tell me, I think of 1,100 options.
Right.
And I start making up crazy things you could be mad at me about. And I'm convinced that that's what the thing is. And so for me, I'm just better off like, if you're mad at me, you can tell me. Otherwise, I'm not thinking about it because if I think about it, it's going to go
It's a
somewhere.
spiral.
It's a big spiral and I'm never right about what it is.
Right. Right. Well,
Yeah.
It's complicated.
It's
guys, we got to work through it.
I know.
Well, if there's a will and you love someone, you work through it. You just
Yeah.
keep talking it out and figuring it out. You inch towards it. Now, you've been married for 12 years?
Is that right?
I think so, 2007.
Yes. I never know. I never know the amount of time.
Yeah, we don't either. Her mother calls us and says happy anniversary. And then we're both like scrambling. Oh, yeah, right.
My mom always sends us flowers. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, same thing. Now, what type of personality does Mark have? Are you guys similar or are you opposites?
Oh, no, we're not similar. Mark is, you've met Mark.
I must have.
Do you remember, we were at a wedding together in North Carolina. Do you remember this?
Oh, my God, you were at the...
Yes.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, but do you remember what was on my hands
What
at all?
happened? You were just with a baby. And Krista, she couldn't come.
Yes, me and Lincoln went to that wedding.
And she was little.
She
Lincoln
was
little,
yes,
too?
she was 2.5 or 3, right? So the mom from way back in LA said she has to wear this dress to the wedding.
Oh,
and
boy.
I don't give a fuck what she wears to the
Right.
wedding, right? Just be at the wedding. So we get into a fight at the Embassy Suites in Charlotte, North Carolina.
You and Lincoln.
Lincoln and I. And she's not going to put this dress on. And I'm like, well, we're not going until you put the dress on because mom said you have to wear the dress.
my
So now we're in a standoff.
Oh,
And eventually we put the dress on and we arrived right as the whole thing was done. I don't know if you recall, we walked in right as,
I don't remember
as
that.
Jen and Seth were walking away from the altar. Although it was kind of a good hack because it looked like we had been there forever because they had been looking forward the whole time naturally. But
I swear to God, I thought you guys were there the whole time. So don't worry about it.
we literally arrived as they were walking away from the altar. And I was like, okay, well, miss that. Then we go over to the reception, and a couple things. A, she's just getting to the age where she's starting to realize people talk to me an inordinate amount of time. And we're on our trip. We've come, she doesn't want to go to a wedding. She wants to see fireflies and go to the river, whatever. A lot of people are talking to me. She starts getting uncomfortable. It's the South, which I adore. They grab kids' cheeks. They say,
they
look
do
at
the
this.
whole thing.
Yeah, they do a whole thing. She just wasn't used to it. I found after about 15 minutes of that reception, this is torture for her. She hates it. I go, let's go out on the sidewalk and get a little air. Went out on the sidewalk to get a little air. 6 or 7 strangers stop and talk to me, and she's now getting more and more mad. And I'm like, it's time for us to get out of here. We went to a park. We found fireflies. It was great. So
You were like single dadding it with a
Yeah.
2-year-old who was not having it.
between the dress having to be worn and then the,
Oh my God, the dress having to be worn. Mark and I are the same in that respect. Like, wear what you want. I'm
Right.
like, I would prefer it if you wore that really nice, cute dress that I bought for you for this occasion. But if like
Yeah.
you're wearing the unicorn onesie, this is where we're at. And like, I'm all right with that.
Yeah. It'd be one thing if I dressed appropriately everywhere, but it's not like either of us put on the fucking Ritz to go anywhere. So I'm like, I don't even know what we're handing down to her. We don't practice this in any way. Okay, so you were at that wedding.
Yeah.
I don't remember meeting anyone really. But my memory of meeting you was, I would say, equally disastrous, and I'll take full responsibility for it. So what I think is the first time I met you was at a baby-to-baby event.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I know exactly. I was like,
And I met you.
oh, Dax. And I was like, we've met 5,000 times.
And worse than that, I said, do you, oh God, I don't even know how to say it exactly how I set it up. I'm sure it was worse when I said it. But I was like, don't people ask you if we dated? Do you remember this part of it?
Yeah, no, vaguely.
Because I got
right.
very confused with the Phillipses.
The Bijou Phillips.
Yes, so Bijou Phillips, one of her sisters, I was at a poker game with 10 years ago, and I was seated next to her, and I have since been like on Howard Stern, and they say, you dated so-and-so Phillips, which I didn't. I sat next to her one time at a poker game.
Which Phillips? The one
I don't know. I tried to figure this all out before you got here.
And we're like, I'm going to get this straight.
Yes, and I still don't have it straight, but I got confused. I thought you were the person that people have asked me if I've dated.
Right.
And then I assumed you've been asked if we dated since I've been asked if we dated.
No.
Yes, and it was a very weird opening.
What a weird,
It was.
weird thing to ask.
But had it been the right person, it would have been immediately bonding. Like, I know, we just sat at a poker game next to each other, and now I've answered this question 20 times. Like, it had the potential of being a very good bonding moment for us, had I had the right person.
And instead I was like, no, Dax, but I have met you like 5,000 times, and I'm what you have facial blindness for me. I'm like the one person you never remember.
So that would have been really triggering.
I remember meeting you. We met on an audition like a really, really long time ago. You and me and Danny Masterson were sitting in a room for a long time. But you and I had met before at an audition, or we had like read together for something.
Wait.
Seriously.
I don't know.
A really long time ago. I mean, this is like early days. Early days. Dax, I've been around for a million.
No, I know. Much longer than me. I'm trying to imagine what that was.
Early 2000s.
Yeah.
I don't know what it was. But then there was that other audition that we had met at. And then I'm good friends with a bunch of the Parenthood people.
Let me just say this. Every context you just listed are my worst contexts.
Yes.
A wedding, many auditions, fucking event that I'm wearing a tuxedo at. So first, I apologize. Second, so I own it. I apologize. Secondly, I do hope that we're just at a restaurant and we eat together. Because then, yes, because all those things I can imagine, that I didn't remember that I was in that audition and thinking, oh, Danny and I are reading for the same role. That's an interesting thing. What does all this mean? And I was obsessed.
In your head.
Oh, yes.
I'm weirdly the opposite. Like during auditions, like I would much rather like have a conversation and with people I'm auditioning against, or you guys were the only ones that were there. That soothes me, is to like talk to people and ask them questions and get out of my head about whatever it is that I'm about to try to go do and get. You know what I mean?
Yes. It's
like to unfocus is my focusing.
It's
and
a great
you're in your head focusing, so you can't focus.
Well, even I'll go a step further. I'm trying to hear what's happening in that fucking room. Because
Right.
the last thing I want to do is
Wow.
walk in there and do the exact same thing that this person just did.
wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, within the latitude of what I can do. But if I hear someone making the exact same choices I was about to make, I'll ditch that.
Yeah. I really like audition. Do you like audition? You don't like it?
I used to hate it, the period you're talking about. Couldn't stand it, so scared. And now I don't mind it at all.
Yeah, I really don't mind it.
It's so weird. I could do, like, the first half of my career is kind of doing characters. And then I learned to be me on Parenthood, or actually in a movie, The Freebie. Once I learned to be me, now I don't care. Because now I just go do what I can do, and I'm not worried about
That's
it.
right.
No, I just find my voice and I do the thing, and you think I'm right for it or not, and I don't overthink it.
100 billion%. That is like the secret. I have like a superstition thing where, for those of you listening at home who are not in Hollywood, they give you like the scenes that you're auditioning with. They're called sides, and they're just the 2 scenes in the movie or 3 scenes in the TV show or whatever that they want you to read. And so you bring them in. Even if I'm not really using them, I always hold them.
Yes, that got explained to me by somebody, which was helpful.
Really?
Yes, because there's this psychological thing for the people observing it that if you're still holding the material, you think to yourself, "Oh wow, that's them not even off book." So there's still another bracket higher.
That's not a finished product.
Right, but if I come in there with no sides, I'm like, this is it, y'all.
Right.
This is me on take 9.
Exactly.
So even if you know it, you might hold them to
you just hold
the
you
sandbag.
always hold them. But then as soon as I leave the audition, no matter what, my whole career, I throw them immediately in the trash.
The Fred Savage was just saying the exact
same thing.
Yeah, and tell me why you do it.
Because I mentally have to just like let it go.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like karmically, that's really a good thing for me to do. That I did it. I'm throwing it away and I'm leaving it there. And if they call me again and they want me to come back, or if I've gotten the part, like that's its own new journey.
Yeah. That's exactly why he does it.
Yeah.
I think it's very healthy. It's like your job just ended.
Yeah.
Your
I did
job's
it.
not like willing it to go your way
And
post
I can't
audition.
control anything that's happening in that room
No.
before or after me.
No.
The only thing I can control is
I mean, I'll still leave a tape recorder behind hidden so I can find out
Did you
what they
see that?
said. What did that happen?
Did you see that Tiffany Haddish said she did that?
No.
No.
Oh my gosh. There was some roundtable for award season, but I don't know. You guys, I don't know. I don't know where I get my information. It's either like, like a trash website, or it's like the New York Times, or it's Twitter,
Or a friend told you at a
or
barbecue.
a friend told me and it's not even real. I don't know. No, but I think it was one of those Hollywood roundtable women things. And she told a story about leaving a tape recorder behind in an audition room so she could hear what people were saying.
Was it positive or negative?
Like it wasn't great.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess you wouldn't tell the story if it was
left. I don't know if it was like her phone or like, something on, and then came back, waited 10 minutes and then came back and got it. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I think I left my phone.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
You have to look it up. It's
Okay.
it's pretty crazy because she just wanted to hear what people were saying.
Yes.
That's an interesting
approach.
Tactic. There's 2 ways to look at it. One is, hey, no one's giving me constructive criticism. I feel like every time I'm in these rooms, they're not actually telling me what I need to do, and I need to figure out so I can get better. That's one. That's a very generous version of it. A less generous version is like, I think this whole town's conspiring against me, and I'm going to get some audio proof of that.
Right.
The more you think about what other people are thinking about you, I just think isn't generally the road to peace and happiness.
That's what I was going to say. Like, for me, that's not, I understand I'm not everyone's cup of tea. That is totally okay with me at this point. And I do think that early on in my career, I wanted to try to figure out a way to be all things to all people. And that's that exact thing that you were just saying, which is that the real trick, and like when people's careers actually click into focus, is when they figure out the thing of themselves that is they are the only people that can do that.
They're one unique offering.
Yes. And when you figure that out and you sort of unlock that, that's when people are able to really find, I think, success in the entertainment industry, but
all
like
things.
all things.
Probably life. Yeah.
Yeah, like all things.
Yeah.
I think it's important. I don't want to know what people are saying about me.
All right, we're going to jump backwards now because you said mom, you loosely used the word stage mom, but then corrected she wasn't a stage mom. But I'm assuming from that statement that you were, as a kid, you did some acting. Like, did you audition for commercials and stuff in Arizona?
Well, we did. I was allowed to do theater, like in school plays, obviously. And then I did like a little after school theater program thing in Scottsdale. And I did have some friends that had agents in LA. So I knew what it was and I really wanted one. And
What can you tell me what percentage of this drive was yours and which was your mom's? If you could put a number on either side.
But isn't it so hard? I don't know, because when you're a kid, you can't, it's hard to, I don't know, wade through all of that stuff.
My daughter rides dirt bikes, and I mean, one would have to guess it's 90% for me.
I guess 99. If I were,
That's cool though, man. I mean, I had a lisp when I was little. I had a speech impediment. It wasn't just my S's. It was also my THs and my R's and my L's. I remember I had this jar. I had a speech therapist, and when I would get them right, they would put money in the, like I got like a penny for something and then nickel and a dime. And my mom do you remember that thing in the 80s where people would use paint pens and like write on lucite things? Just is this not track for you?
It's
you're a
triggering
boy?
me. No.
Okay. Do you know what I mean?
Kind of.
You're too young. How old are you?
32.
You're too young.
Get out of
Bless
here.
your heart. No, but it was like a real moment. Like these personalization stores were really big in malls. And they had like a bunch of lucite stuff, like a lucite jewelry box, a little gumball machine. That was like the big one.
I can totally see it, and I see
it's like the bubble letters.
Yes, I see in cursive pink marker pen.
Yes,
right?
and so I had one that my mom got made for me that had like a TH on it, an R, and
Wow.
and that was my little bank when I would get them correctly. So kind of initially, she really encouraged me to participate in the talent show at school and do the school plays because she wanted me to work on my speech impediment.
Right. Overcome it.
Yeah. It wasn't anything that I ever felt bad about or ostracized.
Right.
It
People
was
weren't
just-
teasing you at
No,
school.
I just was I kind of talked like Cindy Brady.
Oh, sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
So that was like kind of, I think, the initial thing. And then in third grade, they would hold little class auditions and I auditioned and got the lead in the third grade school play. And then same in fourth grade. And then that like becomes your thing, right? Like
Sure.
you're like, oh, I'm good at this thing.
Yeah, you're getting confidence from
I
it.
like it. I want to do more of it. And then also I had a little friend, a girl who had an agent in LA and would fly out here for auditions for real things, for movies and TV shows. And, and that was appealing to me because I watched a ton of television and movies.
Right.
I loved like Three's Company.
Saved by the Bell?
Loved by the Bell.
Me
for
too.
sure. Big fan.
Yeah.
90210 was huge for me.
And they're bringing back 90210, and this, you know all about it. Okay, so you can't wait to get out of Scottsdale. Not that you don't love Scottsdale. We all love Scottsdale. It's a great place. But you personally weren't finding fulfillment in Scottsdale. And then you take yourself over to Loyola Marymount.
That's correct.
Right?
Right by the airport.
I was just thrilled to learn this, that one of your college sweethearts was Colin Hanks.
Yeah. Colin and I were college boyfriend, girlfriends.
And did you meet in a theater class?
No, but I did see him in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
And were you buying it that he was like
Loved
that?
it. Yeah,
Loved
yeah.
it.
It was a great performance.
Did you
I was
fall in
in.
love with him
I was
on
in.
stage?
Sure, always.
Always? Okay, great. and you were together for a while, yeah?
Yeah, like we were little. I met him when I was 18, right when I got to Loyola. And we were both theater majors. We did the whole thing. We were in Noises Off together on the main stage, guys. It's okay.
Now,
Don't worry about it.
Fancy.
I don't want to get too tabloidy, but I'm just putting myself in your shoes. So let's say when I got to UCLA, I started dating the daughter of Burt Reynolds, and I found myself at dinner at his house, and I've just left Michigan. This to me would be like, oh, wow, this is all very close.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, Dax,
Okay.
that you have to know about me is that at this period of time, I had told people, and this is in my book, like I had said, well, here, I'm going to move to Los Angeles. My mom's insisting I go to college, but she says I have to complete 2 years of college. So I'm going to do 2 years of college and then I'm going to be on a television show.
Okay.
Confident.
The confidence that I had that this was like not just something that I was going to do, but that I belonged there and it was just a thing.
Entitlement.
I had
Yeah.
a real entitlement about this particular thing.
Yeah, I love hearing you admit that.
Yeah.
I'm terribly entitled. It's one of my biggest character defects. You should see where I park sometimes. It's obnoxious. Okay, now back to you knew you were going to be on a TV show.
yeah.
And so in college, you're like, yeah, I'm doing this
Right.
to make mom happy.
Yeah. I mean, I really enjoyed college. And I was entitled, I was super confident, and I was insanely driven. And then also like I had a fairly I had some trauma I had trauma, and I did have like a justification thing in my brain that was going that if I did this thing and like made these things come true for myself, that would somehow balance out or erase or make it all worthwhile. And that like I had like gone through this thing, but then through all that, I like get to this other thing, this goal. And if I don't achieve that, then it's all for just fucking nothing.
Right. You decided that's how you were going to reclaim your
Yes.
identity and
Correct.
power and all that stuff.
Correct.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
So I talk about here, having been molested before, and I think you in your book, you talked about that you were raped at 16. Is that?
No, I was 14.
You were 14.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Something
That's
else
okay.
happened.
Yeah, I think that was trauma for sure. And then I got pregnant the next year when I had a boyfriend and I had an abortion. And while like the abortion itself wasn't trauma, a lot of the surrounding circumstances were traumatic for me.
Yeah, for sure.
And moving forward from that place. And then that just led to behavior and choices that were sometimes not great, that I wasn't proud of, you know? And like, so that was part of the thing that I was like eager to
Shake.
get. Yes.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I wonder for you, how did it change your worldview?
Well, it's hard to remember before, I guess. Like
Because there's
before.
stages, right? You've even talked about this. So when it happened, you weren't necessarily thinking, I'm going to label this rape.
No, I did not. But
Right.
also, like, that's culturally, I think, where we were at the time. Like, Monica Lewinsky was the slut. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, that was like a thing that our entire country laughed at.
Yeah.
You know, those were the messages that we were being given. And we were still very much deeply in the time of, like, you know, letting boys be boys. And it's interesting. I don't do many podcasts, Dax, but when I did Mark Maron's podcast, he had read the chapter of my book about the rape, and he was like, it's so crazy reading that. Like, everybody knew that story about a girl from high school. And I was like, oh, yeah, dude, that's the fucking problem. Like, you know, and yeah, and I think in the immediate aftermath of it, not only did I never want to label it rape, I was like, owned it in such an intense way that I was like, yeah, I am a fucking slut. That's right. You want me to suck your dick? Like, I'll do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm a fucking slut.
Right.
Like, what else you got? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like focused on that guy in particular and like became very obsessed with him and obsessed with like trying to make him my boyfriend and telling people he was maybe. And I, you know, like having a whole other narrative that I built that only then, it wasn't that many years later that I was talking to some friends. I was like a senior in high school, and these were kids that were already in college. And so, like, you know, then you go to Psych 101 and you're like, my mind's blown. Like, I know everything.
Yeah.
And we were talking about like losing your virginity or whatever. And I brought up my story, right? I like telling the story and like what it was and how it was. And I guess I had like sort of in like the 4 years in between it happening and me having that night where I was like hanging out with these kids, I had sort of like tested the waters a little bit, I think, with some friends in terms of like, was that fucked up? Like, what happened to me? Like, was that weird?
Yeah.
Was that weird to you? Because then, I mean, I was 14. I was like a baby. Because then your friends actually, like, you do start actually dating and like falling in love with people and like having sex. And that's just a totally different thing. Like, that's just that's a different thing.
It becomes very clear that what you did
experienced was not
yes.
that.
Yes. And so it becomes more and more clear as you experience something that is loving and mutually has the same goal.
Yeah, or even just like fucking horny kids who like are into it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like not even loving. Like just like we're
consensual.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Yeah, just like healthy sexual, like let's get it on vibes. And so there was this kid at that night, like you know, when I was like senior in high school, who, I mean, that was rape biz. Like that was, you know, that's what rape is actually. And I was like, that's not what rape is. Like everybody calm the fuck down. Because culturally I still had that idea that, by the way, I'm still so shocked sometimes when I hear like politicians who are like, we all know that rape is, you know, in an alley with a lady screaming with a thing to her neck, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
And I think that was what I had in my head. I feel like I felt a lot of responsibility and I took on a lot of
it kind of comes with a label and an identity adjustment, which is, if I was raped, now I am a rape victim. And, you know, there's a lot to it that you have to. So for my worldview shifter was, oh, wow, some people have a real nefarious plan and I can be duped. Like I need to have my wits about me all the time. I now know that there are people around me, because I would say up until that point, I assume most people were generally kind of benevolent or good-natured. And I was like, oh no, there's wolves in this world that we live in, and I've got to be hyper vigilant against them. And then there was, for me, shame that I allowed that to happen.
Yes.
This guy had something I wanted, and he was holding it over my head, and I was going along with all these things, and he was way older than me. And then, so the shame, even it took me, a gal in high school, we're sitting in a parking lot smoking on the hood of my car, and she told me she was raped. And it was so powerful, and I don't think she had ever told anyone else. And I felt compelled to meet her there. And I was like, I got molested by this dude. And just saying it was like, oh, fuck, well, there's like half the weight just fell off. That's incredible. But for me, hearing, oh, you're a kid, it's not your fault. You're a kid, it's not your fault. You're a kid. It didn't cure my internal shame. Even if you tell me it's not my fault, I'm still feeling some fault in this.
Yeah. Wait, I mean, that's really intense.
Closure from that.
It never worked for me either. And it wasn't until I wrote my book and I wrote it out in the clearest way I could, which was, again, about something I wanted. I wanted to I wanted to know, I wanted to be a part of something, and I wanted some boy to fucking like me.
Right.
And I was curious about all that stuff. I didn't have an appropriate way to figure it out, and I didn't know how to talk about it. And, I was looking for something, like looking for an experience, or looking, I was interested. I wanted to know what everything was all about, I guess.
You wanted to be an adult in some ways?
I wanted to be an adult.
Yeah.
I thought I was kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and writing it in my book, that was better than any of the therapy that I've done about it in the last, almost 20 years, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. Wow.
That was the catharsis.
That was the
whole
catharsis for me. But then, this is so weird. I mean, what the fuck? Why not? 2 nights ago, I had a really fucking wild dream. And I want to tell you what it was. I had a dream I was at this place, with a bunch of girlfriends. And it was like a boardwalky type place. They exist all over the country, where there's maybe a man-made body of water in the middle with a fountain. And then there's chain restaurants and stuff and bars and people sit outside.
I'm picturing the Palm Springs mall I've been to many times.
Okay, clear. Yes, exactly like that. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, so in my dream, I'm sitting at this table, very specific, wire chairs and shit. And I'm sitting with my group of girlfriends, and we're on some sort of girls trip. These 2 men come up to our table, and they are trying to say something to me, but kind of backing off on it at the same time. And I'm like, what are you saying? I'm sorry, I can't, what are you saying to me? And the one guy bags out on it, and he's like, oh, he's just a big fan. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Did you want a picture? I don't understand what's happening. What is the request here? Do you want a picture? And he's like, no, that's fine, man. My friend had you, so it's cool. And I was like, oh, okay. What? And I watch where they sort of head back to their table around a corner. And so I walk around, and there's the guy that raped me sitting at a table with those dudes. By the way, this is what I imagine maybe he looks like at this point. I don't know if I would,
Yeah, did he age well?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Oh, in my dream?
Yeah.
In my dream, he looked fucking old, And he was there, and we had this sort of thing this moment in my dream where I was like, I think your friends said something weird to me. And he was like, I don't know what they said. I just told them the truth that we dated. And I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Okay, that's your truth. I get it. And I left.
Uh-huh.
And I woke up, and I was super fucked up, from it, just felt really weird. And I was thinking all day about what my subconscious was getting at, but I didn't feel panicked. I didn't feel upset. I didn't feel all the things I used to kind of feel. And I guess what I think I came to was that I think that is his truth. I don't think he, for 1 second, believes that he perpetrated that on me. And I think that I'm like releasing the thing that I was holding on to that I somehow wanted him to acknowledge it. Like, I don't need it anymore.
Right.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes, I do. I do 100%.
Because I felt like calm about it.
Again, you said earlier, it was just let boys be boys.
Right.
Right. But it is a part of a big, thick conversation, which is the whole setup's pretty flawed and it has a very bad outcome
Yes.
a high percentage of the time.
Yeah.
And so we need to revamp the entire thing, the courting, the roles we're playing sexually, all these things,
Right.
they all need to get revamped.
I think that 100%. But I also believe
That sound like I was
then-
defending guys too much?
No, I
Okay.
don't. Because I could take fucking shit for what I just said about my own fucking dream, but whatever. It's my
yeah.
experience, not yours.
Yeah.
Move through your own stuff. I can't do it for you. Okay. But I think that where we are now, and I've been thinking so much about this in the last couple of years, is in not just the things that we say and the articles and all of that, but in the actual stories we tell in terms of what television shows and movies and what romantic comedies are. And this is like what my husband does for a job, right? Like he writes romantic comedies. But how you change a culture is through the art. Always,
Yeah.
Always.
Mhm.
And the art that we consume the most of in this country is television shows and movies. I think we've done in the last 20 years, I think we've made like great strides in some directions. And I think that our art that's been available to the masses has gotten super fucking lazy. And that we've been repeating the same narratives that are really comfortable for people over and over again. And being comfortable is something that we know all Americans love, myself included. Being uncomfortable is not something that
That's
people like.
why you go to McDonald's. You know exactly what you're going to get.
100%. And, so when you look at like, I remember my sister like begging my parents to get basic cable so we could have MTV. That was like the big, that was the big push from Leanne, and she got it. And I'm thankful for it.
Sure.
I reaped the rewards of that, but we never had HBO. My parents had to fucking sign up for HBO when I got Vice Principals, which was like, guys, 3 years ago. That's it. But anyway, my point is that like, we talk about like how far apart people are in this country and da 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 da. It's like, well, guys, guess what? Like, you took all your progressive ideas and put them into your art on fucking pay cable and Amazon and streaming services that a large portion of the country cannot afford. And do you know what they can afford? They can afford game shows about getting richer. About
I host
like,
one. Go ahead.
Less full disclosure, I am a host of one. Getting rich. Reinforcing this idea that that's the thing that we all need to like make us happy to, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire like debuted 20 years ago and like kicked Freaks and Geeks off the air. Right. And like, to me, that is like a very perfect encapsulation of what I think like then became the downfall of like network television. And I just think that we as like artists that work in this fucking industry have a responsibility to not just make like the cool fucking shows not available to everyone, like the Handmaid's Tale or I don't even know, girls back in the day, all of that stuff. Am I making sense?
Yeah, you're making
Yes,
crazy.
absolutely.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it
it's
makes-
not that content is not wholly democratized.
Yeah.
It's not. And seeing different kinds of people and seeing like different kinds of people have different kinds of relationships.
Yes. Take Philadelphia. Pre-Philadelphia, the Tom Hanks movie.
Yeah.
He means Philadelphia. He just doesn't. He can't say that properly. We get in fights.
I'm still
about this
saying
all
it
the time.
wrong?
Yeah.
Philadelphia.
Okay, yeah. So Philadelphia, the movie.
Philadelphia. Yeah. Okay.
Prior to that movie,
Yes.
people were absolutely panicked about their kids being around
Yes.
anyone that had AIDS.
Yes.
You could get it by getting spit on or touched or all that stuff. Now, that movie was a title shift, a paradigm shift in how this country thought about HIV and AIDS.
Right.
And it introduced compassion to this thing. And it took the person we love the very most in the world, that everyone loved left and right. And he took us through the personal journey of that experience,
Right.
and it changed everything. Now, I worry two things. One, that if Tom Hanks had Twitter in 1990 or whatever fucking year that was made, He would have alienated half the country by speaking only political views. So he would have lost half the country right there, be it left or right, doesn't matter. He would have lost half. Now half the people are going to that movie and they're not exposed to it. Also, the person who wrote it might just think, well, this outlet, 140 characters, I'm going to enact change with this. And so I don't think that's a super powerful way to enact change. I'm glad that they did it through art. I think a lot of our best artists are kind of scratching the itch of trying to move our society by fucking tweeting and Instagramming.
Right.
And I think they should hunker down and write Philadelphia.
Right. We're saying the exact same thing. My point is that like no one wants to be preached to.
No,
I know that.
I
I don't
hate it.
want to be preached to. And I know for a fact that it's the cheesiest fucking thing I'm ever going to say out loud. But the way to change people's hearts and minds is through storytelling.
It is.
And I don't think it has to be, it's not about preaching to people, but it's about showing them a different way to be. No judgment.
It eliminates defensiveness because it's on someone else. 'Cause I'm watching someone else. I'm not reading a tweet that says you're a vile piece of shit if you think A. That's to me, right? But if I'm watching a character, my defensive nature is not triggered. And so I can take on new information because it's happening to this other person. I mean, that is the power of it.
Right. Or you can, like Philadelphia, like when Will and Grace was first on the air originally, I think that for a lot of people, it opens them to possibility, just a possibility.
Yes.
And that there might be a different perspective. People who have voted for Trump, I don't think that they're watching The Daily Show or, even opening monologues of the late night shows where they skewer the administration and thinking like, that's going to give me something to think about. You know
No,
what I mean?
there's no way. Any more than you and I watching Fox News and hearing Hillary is like, should be put in prison.
Right.
We're just never going to be convinced of that.
Not the thing for us.
Right. But if they make a great movie about Hillary, I mean, really good, and they get like,
Michelle Williams. It's got to be my friend Michelle. It's got to be Michelle.
yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Who are we doing? Is that it? I think
it,
I think
for
that's it.
sure.
Like in 10 years maybe.
Oh, she'd
well,
kill
she could
it.
do the whole. She could run the. She could do
lifespan.
the whole lifespan.
she's amazing and beautiful and talented in it. But I went straight to Kate
Blanchett.
Blanchett. She for me is
Blanchett.
my she's my De Niro or my,
I agree. The only thing about my best friend Michelle is that A, she's my best friend, and then also B, she is such a crazy chameleon. She's like been able to do this thing like in her career recently where she really playing real people. She really has like figured it out and how to like transform her, even her face. Like I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know what she's doing.
She's in
Anyway.
the top 1% of actors.
If she doesn't win the Emmy for this Fosse Verdon, I'm gonna rage.
For what?
Fosse Verdon.
What's that?
It was the FX show that Michelle starred in with Sam Rockwell, and he played Bob Fosse, and she played Gwen Verdon, who was Bob Fosse's longtime collaborator, muse, and wife. I don't even think they ever got divorced, even though he like went on and had had other relationships. All that jazz was Bob Fosse wrote and directed that about himself.
The one I saw, he's doing tons of coke and he's a monster.
All that jazz.
Okay, great. So wow, he had some self-awareness of being a monster.
Yeah, he knew.
Oh.
He was aware of his demons.
Okay, didn't make him any less easy to be around.
No, I think it's like the series is really incredible. It was a limited series. It was only like I don't know, 8 episodes maybe.
We'll watch that. We're
yeah,
always
for sure.
we're always thirsty.
thirsty.
You
Jinx.
you love each other.
Okay, so much. Go ahead.
Anyway, that's it.
Anyways, you come out of Loyola, right?
We're back here. We're back
Yeah.
here. I love it.
Yeah.
We just
17 hours later.
I can dance.
This is
I have one quick follow-up question because I left it hanging, and then we're going to get into Freaks and Geeks. But having thought like, oh yeah, I'm born to do this and this is going to happen, that again, whereas I would have been like, what the fuck am I doing in Tom Hanks'
right.
living room? I'd have been like, how did I teleport here?
Yeah.
This is almost too hard for me to comprehend. Were you like, fuck yeah, I'm home?
Well, not exactly. I mean, it was somewhere in between the two, to be totally fair. I mean,
This took longer than I thought it would.
finally.
yeah, like, I mean, also that was 1997. So that was also very, very peak.
Peak Hanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no, I mean, I think that was intimidating for sure. But they were so lovely to me. And I was doing this like industrial acting job playing a live Barbie doll at the Toy Fair in New York City.
Yes, and weirdly, Sharon Stone bumped into you here.
She came to walk through the Toy Fair, I guess, because she was good friends with the CEO, the woman who was the CEO of Mattel at the time, who
I
invited
bet.
her.
Sure.
And she was also peak Sharon Stone.
Right.
I mean,
Peak Powers. Yeah. The
And-
old guard.
Yeah, and she really gave me a thank you. That was wonderful. You're going to be a big star someday, you know. And,
Oh,
Did you
that's
take that
nice.
on, or were you like, oh, she said that probably to 100 other people?
no, that was special for me.
Okay, good. That's the preferred way to go through life, by the way, if I could pick.
Special for me.
Yeah.
And Tom and Rita were in town. I think he was filming something, and Colin was studying abroad that semester in Germany. But they asked if they could. Rita was like, "Can we come see you at the Toy Fair?" And I'm
Oh,
like, "Oh my gosh."
No.
My boyfriend's parents are coming to see me at the Toy Fair. Oh my gosh.
And you're playing a real life Barbie.
doll. Yeah.
Right.
Wilson. And this is so, and this was an interesting moment for me because I met Colin and we had started dating and I just loved him. And we went to, their house and had dinner and, and I saw them in their house and a couple times. And then I saw them in public.
Right.
And that was really, really unbelievably overwhelming and like terrifying.
Yeah.
And what a huge celebrity has to deal with. And especially at that point.
The biggest.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know. It was so intense. And I was like, I remember being like very shaky and like, I just was like, this is terrible. What, like, can we just go somewhere safe? Like, where is safe?
Right.
Like, I just, and then I thought about my boyfriend that I'd been dating and how hard that must be for him. I mean, I guess, theoretically he was used to it. You get used to it.
Right.
It's your normal,
Yeah.
right? But
Yeah.
for me, it was just very overwhelming. And I did also have the thought, even with all my ambition and wanting to be successful and wanting to be a professional actor in big movies and television shows, I had the thought like, oh, I don't ever want that. Like, that's too
Right.
much for me. I don't know if I could ever do it.
Yes.
You have to be so special, like such a special person.
Yeah.
To be, I mean, not a special person to like get, but which they are, but special to be able to handle it with grace and not lose your fucking mind.
Kindness.
Yeah.
And kindness, which
yeah.
he was to like he and Rita both to every person.
That's actually more impressive than his acting.
Honestly,
I mean,
it
that's
is.
almost
Of
impossible.
character,
Yeah.
And then in the midst of all of it, just so focused on me and really able to connect with me and like, and I could see them trying to help me, like be like,
Right.
this is okay.
Right.
Everything's going to be fine. You
Yes.
are safe. Don't worry.
We've made it through many of these mobs
Yeah.
safely, and
Yeah.
we will today too.
Yeah. It was pretty wild.
Okay, so Freaks and Geeks.
Yes.
You're young when you get that, yeah? Are you fresh out of Loyola?
2 years, Dax. I lived my dream.
Okay.
2 years of college.
It
Second
went
semester.
exactly as
course.
planned. Wow.
Second semester, sophomore year. I had a billion auditions and callbacks. It was my first pilot season. I had gotten an agent basically because of the Barbie job. An actress that I worked with in the Toy Fair introduced me to her manager, Lorraine Berglund, who was this amazing woman. She was British and just like, darling, I just think you're going to be fabulous. I just can't wait. I have to introduce you to agents. We have to get you an agent.
Yeah.
She like loaned me money for my headshot.
Oh, wow.
I worked at California Pizza Kitchen.
So did Dax.
Wait, what? Is this true?
1,000% in Brentwood.
I worked at CPK in the marina,
Okay, I've been.
but I also worked at California Pizza Kitchen in Arizona. That was my high school job.
Sure.
I was a hostess.
How much of that bread did you dip in barbecue sauce and ranch throughout the day?
So much
I
bread.
bet I ate 2 loaves of bread every shift.
I mean, I ate so much bread, but you know what? What year are we talking? Late.
I bet 99-ish.
I mean, by the way, I was at that Brentwood CPK all the time. I still used the employee discount. Like, I would still give my number even when I was on television shows.
Good.
And they just, no one ever questioned it.
Right.
But I worked at the CPK in the marina. Yeah, Lorraine loaned me money. I got headshots done. She was just wonderful and set me up with one agency. I had a meeting. They were called Writers and Artists. They don't exist anymore.
I remember
they
it,
were a
though.
big agency.
Yeah.
And I remember calling my mom from my dorm room afterwards and telling her that it was, the agency that Claire Danes was at. So basically, they seem like they want to sign me. And if they do, that's it. Like, I'm done. Like,
Right.
I'm going to be,
I'm going to shop for a yacht.
that's it.
Yeah.
Right.
They did not sign me. And then she introduced me to a small agency called Silver Massetti and Satsmary. And
That's a lot of names.
Marilyn Satsmary they were just amazing, like old school. And they had David Hyde Pierce, who was on Frasier at the time. And they made sure that I knew that they represented real actors, not just pretty people who can hit their marks. And then they started sending me out that pilot season. It was insane. There were so many teen shows that year. It was like bonkers because it was right after Dawson's Creek had hit. And like Dawson's Creek was like summer premiere, I think, and then 70s show started in the fall. And then that next pilot season, everyone was like, where's our teen show?
Right.
And like Felicity was still hot. Like there was like all of that teen stuff was like really, really happening. And so, yeah, like I auditioned that second semester of my sophomore year of college was just me driving from Westchester, from my dorm at LMU, you know, into all areas of Beverly Hills, Hollywood, the Valley. I had a Thomas guide.
Oh, yeah.
I like was just lived in my car. I didn't even have email, didn't exist. So I had to go pick up scripts at my fucking agents.
Right.
They weren't going to messenger anything. I hadn't made any money.
Yep.
And so I was like I just lived in my Honda Civic. It was a full-time job. I basically didn't finish any of my classes. So I got cast in a WB pilot called Saving Graces as a guest star. And it was about two girls who were best friends. And their names were both Grace.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah.
And it starred Lauren Ambrose, pre 6 Feet Under, and this girl, Kyler Lee, who then like went on to be on Grey's Anatomy for a million years.
Okay, she's probably a billionaire.
Yeah. Yes.
So those girls were the Graces, and I was the bitchy girl in high school that was bullying them. Then I got offered the part of Kim Kelly in Freaks and Geeks.
Stay tuned for more Armchair Expert, if you dare.
Okay, so knowing your ambition and knowing what you wanted, were you able to enjoy that and go, oh my God, I'm on a TV show and it's all these great people and they're all talented. I can see that and it's really fun. Or were you singularly focused on like, great, so I do this and then I'll get to do blank?
I mean, I was really lucky, and that because that was my first experience. For obvious reasons, I was incredibly lucky because it's such a great show and it's iconic and it's like stood the test of time and all of those things. But beyond that, just the people that I was working with and the perspective that I gained in a very short period of time was incredibly valuable moving forward and creating a career that had longevity.
Is that because you were able to see the value of being a team player?
Of being a team player in many ways, but creatively, you know, Judd and Paul and Jake Kasdan were incredibly empowering of our voices and opinions and all of those things. And we were all ranging in age from 15 to, I think Linda was the oldest. We have the same birthday, but she's a few years older than me. So I think she was like 20.
And she was also a Loyola. Yeah.
Yeah, we weren't there at the same time. She had left school. She graduated later. She went back and graduated later, but she had left school to work professionally because she was getting so many jobs. But I knew her because she still lived with her friends from college, you know, as you do.
Yeah.
And her roommate, Jason, was my TA in theater shop, like class or whatever.
Right.
So she was around and like everybody knew who she was. And she was just always the greatest.
Yeah.
And, you know, moving forward from Freaks and Geeks and being on different types of shows with different types of producers and different kinds of messages that are being sent to you from the creatives in charge, I feel really, really lucky that Freaks and Geeks was like my first
your education on
foray.
How to do this,
how to do it, and that things are possible. That you can create your own stuff. Because at the time, too, I'm sure you remember, like that wasn't obviously it's pre-YouTube. It's like really like the internet, and like you're not creating your own stuff for yourself to star in.
Right.
You're an actor for hire, and you are like lucky to get a job, and you need to go and do your job, and that's it. That's like the beginning and the middle and the end of the fucking story as far as everyone was concerned at that time. I had a chance to interview Meg Ryan like 2 years ago at Bentonville Film Festival. And I was like looking through her filmography, and she's really into directing now. She like loves it. It's like lit her up. And I was talking to her about her early career, and I'm like, it's so crazy to me because here you are, you're like the biggest movie star in the world. And at what point were you like, I want to dictate the stories? I'm just like, what are you talking about? That wasn't a thing. You didn't get to produce your own stuff.
Right.
I'm the biggest movie star in the world. Like, I don't get to make the stuff. I'm just in the stuff.
Yes. You got to wait for a phone call.
Yeah, you wait for that phone call and and you're shown the project. And you're in a lucky position at that point in the 90s that you're given the best of the best and you can pick and choose. And so for me, the Judd's way of being and helping sort of cultivate new talent, that was just something that he obviously clearly always did,
Right.
and empower our voices. And it was just super collaborative. It was like, well, what do you guys think?
Right.
What you think is valid.
Right.
And, I moved on to other shows and other movies and things where they're like, oh, no one gives a fuck what you think.
Right.
Hit that mark right there. That T, you're yellow.
Yeah.
So when you see that yellow, you stand right there and say the things that are on the page.
Yeah.
And then you get your paycheck and we're going to send you on your way. But I think that it was really showed me like a different way to be and the way things could be and the way that things now obviously have ended up for the most part.
Yeah. And then you moved on from there to Dawson's Creek, which you just mentioned, right? You joined that it was already running?
Yeah, it was the last 2 seasons of the show, like the college years, essentially.
And did you like the show before you went there? Like,
No,
were you
I
a
never
consumer?
watched
Oh, you hadn't watched it? Because that would have been
Wasn't
really
a fan.
fun to join the world if
It was
you
a
had loved
big
the world.
deal.
It was huge. Wait, have you ever joined a cast of a show that you're a fan of?
No, I haven't. But I would love to. Like, I would love to go be on Peaky Blinders and get to live in that world that I love for a few months. Or maybe it would go
It might ruin
sideways.
it.
It might ruin it.
I like have always had this feeling like it would ruin it.
Yeah.
Right. And by the way, that's like advice I find myself giving to young actors who are overthinking how good the project they're in is or isn't. I'm like, you don't have to be in every great show that you like. It's okay to like those shows. You don't have to be involved with them. So there's part of me that, is like, it's a little unhealthy to like need to be in something you like, or maybe even egomaniacal. Like, just enjoy the thing you like.
Like, to me, like The Good Place, do you know that I'm the biggest Good Place fan? Do you know that?
I don't know that.
Well, it is like truly one of the only things that has brought me true joy in the last several years.
That's so nice.
That is really nice. And is it the writing? Is it the cast? Is it the accumulation of all the things?
It's all so it wins all across the board. It's all so fucking fantastic. What it's saying, what it's trying to say. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Like, Mike Schur is actually a perfect example of somebody who is like meeting the people with the art.
It's not alienating. It's not.
And but it's also like pushing people to think a little bit differently, a little bit more critically, to see things in a different way. And that is exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he has figured out a way to put it into the America box.
Yeah.
And not make it not
shoving
niche.
it down their throat, just like presenting it in a fun way.
Yeah.
He's the best.
He's the best. But anyway, I'm like I'm like obsessed with The Good Place. I was like talking to Dave Miner, who represents Mike Schur and is a manager, and he's producer on the show. And I was like, because he was one of the producers on Busy Tonight, because Tina Fey. And I was like, do I want to, can you ask, should I be on, do I want to be on the last season of The Good Place, like as an extra? Like, should I get in there? Like, is that a thing I should do? You know what I mean? Because I love it so deeply and intensely. And ultimately, not that it was offered, but like ultimately I was like, I can't do that. I need that world to remain pure, something that I just like watch and enjoy and love. And
like, I think that's probably the healthiest run at that.
Yeah.
Did you like any of those boys on Dawson's Creek? Did you buy in?
Like them like I wanted to kiss them?
Crushes.
Oh, no,
Were you generally in relationships throughout all this time?
I was always that person. Colin and I had broken up. I was dating this guy who I had gone to high school with, and then we reconnected. And so when I was on Dawson's Creek, I like was in a really long distance relationship with a dude who was living here, and I was in Wilmington. And
right. Were you doing anything in this period like that you would now label pathological? Either drinking or doing drugs? Or,
I was drinking so much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's
And
very
also-
lonely down there. You've joined a show where everyone's friends, and you're like trying to figure out what do you play
They weren't.
Oh, they weren't. Okay, I don't even know. I just assumed they were.
No, they weren't. They were like over it.
Oh.
You know? And they were just because they all had like become hugely famous from that show.
Yes.
And then, James had gotten paid like I remember reading, it's not like this was something he talked about, but like, James had gotten like $1 million for Varsity Blues.
Oh,
and
by the way, he was great in it.
I mean, so good.
I don't want your life.
Did you used to say that a lot to people?
I was just on a show with Ashton for the last year.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It was who could beat the other person in a scene to say, I don't want your life. We would add it nonstop. Of course, it's never going to make the show, but we couldn't resist.
I mean,
yeah, we loved it.
It's a great thing to say.
It's very universal.
But they were all like settled down and living these lives that were pretty quiet. I think by that point, I mean, there were like occasions where we would all hang out and stuff. And Saturdays and Sundays, one of the first ADs had like a great boat and we would go out, Outer Banks. And was like, it was nice. And they were very inclusive to me. There also wasn't season one of a show where everybody's like fucking psyched to be there.
Enthusiastic.
And Michelle had already put down roots in New York, so she was like flying up there.
And I didn't even know she was on that show.
That's wild. She would be probably
happy about that.
Well,
I was just thinking when I learned that today, I was thinking, well, she certainly transcended whatever baggage that came with. She clearly...
I think that all of the young actors who like achieved a very high level of fame at that period of time, like the late 90s, early 2000s, I think that they had very clear distinct choices to make. And like you could go for the thing where you do the big teen horror movies and like that
would have been me. I'd have been like, how much money?
And taking that money. Yeah. And Michelle had done one of those and it didn't feel good to her, and she didn't like it.
Right.
And so she just really quietly was like, I'm going to go do a Williamstown Theater Festival and I'm going to like move to New York and I'm going to, get in with like the indie film community in New York. Then be number 7 on the call sheet for like this movie with Patty Clarkson and Peter Dinklage or whatever, whatever that is. And she really smartly used like the amount of money that she was making on Dawson's Creek to like
survive throughout that transition.
Yeah, and to like build herself as an artist and her resume. And like, it's really admirable what she's accomplished. I don't know. No one's ever written the article, but like that's the fucking article as far as I'm concerned about her career. It's like,
yeah.
By the way, we didn't say it to you, but maybe it was already explained to you. But anything you don't want, and you just tell us and we cut up. Yeah, we're not like TMZ. We don't really.
Yeah.
That was the rule on my talk show too. That was the thing on my talk show. I was like, I'm not trying to like catch anyone in some fucking bullshit.
There's plenty of outlets doing that. It's not like I feel like the urge to.
It's also like that whole thing is like, a thing I just don't buy into because I think it feeds all of the stuff. One of the reasons why I wanted to do a late night talk show interview with celebrities element to it was as someone who's like done it for so long to like reclaim the narrative that it doesn't have to be salacious. It can be so fun. It can be easy.
Yeah.
And also there is value to like doing press as a performer, as an actor, like, can show, I don't know, a nice side of yourself that you've always wanted to show. I don't know, whatever the fuck it is. I just wanted to give people like, you have to do these press tours anyway. Let's make it as painless as possible.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so post Dawson's Creek, you're on ER, and then substantially, I'd probably say, at least financially for you, and longest time, you were on Cougar Town for years.
Yes, but you skipped the thing that I get approached about at least 4 times a week.
Let me guess. Was Terry Crews in the movie?
Terry Crews was in the movie.
White Chick.
It's a white chick. It was like a movie that really has stood the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
When it came out, I was like horrified. It was like
You were embarrassed.
People were I was like super excited to do it. And I loved working with those guys. And I had a really fun time. It was super fun and so dumb. And we knew, like we were all on board for the fun and dumbness of it. And it came out and just not only were the reviews brutal, but it did not do well at the box office.
It didn't. I feel
no.
like so. This is the funny thing about memory is I feel like that movie was a hit. I can still see the ad with Terry in the back of the car dancing with a shirt off.
Yeah, for
right?
sure. Of course, it's like iconic. But no, Dodgeball had come out to the week earlier.
Oh, and just
And
clean.
killed.
Yes.
And so then I think White Chicks was like the second week of Dodgeball's opening, and so it wasn't even the number one comedy. You know, like
it was also literally that was the exact moment there was a paradigm shift.
correct.
Yeah, so like all those movies like
Yeah.
White Chick had done really well for 10, 12 years. And then now it was time for Vince and all those guys
Yep,
and that
that's
more.
right. And Will Ferrell and the sports movies, one of which I have the story credit on.
What sports movie?
Blades of Glory.
You have story credit on that.
Yes.
I had,
Dax.
oh my
It's
goodness.
a whole deep dive.
I had no idea.
It's a wild journey about being a woman in this industry
Sure.
and having men take your voice and gaslight you. It's a whole it's a chapter in my book.
Okay,
And
okay.
it's a lot.
Yeah.
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 But anyway, White Chicks. Oh, so White Chicks didn't do well.
Okay.
And I was devastated because I thought like it was going to be the thing. Like I thought it was going to do for me like what the scary movies did for Anna.
Right.
you know?
Sure.
I was ready for that moment.
Yeah.
And it did not come.
Right.
And I was very sad. But that being said, every year since then, it has only grown and grown and grown.
Oh, I
it's
bet.
been like 14 years or something. It was just on the other night. It was like on one of the HBO channels the other night.
Right.
It was
Yeah, there's certain movies where you're like, oh fuck yeah, I'll sit right through this. I don't care. Every 5 minutes there's going to be a joke or a set piece, and I'm in for it.
I don't even have to pay attention. I'm going to be on my phone the whole time.
Yeah, but have you found though, in your 20 years of doing this, that the things you wanted and had expectations for, they rarely turn out the way you were expecting. Then the things maybe you didn't want to do are so much better than you thought they were going to be. Like, what I have discovered is that I'm just bad. I'm totally bad at picking.
Me too.
And I'm totally bad at knowing what's good for me.
Oh my God. Dax, what's happening? How have we not hung out until this moment?
Yes.
I feel like in the last 4 years, I've figured some stuff out. But previously in my career, I picked terribly. I thought I didn't get Freaks and Geeks. I'm just going to be totally honest. I was like, I'll do this, but I do not get it.
There you
I
go.
don't know what this is.
There you go.
Wow.
And I didn't want to do Parenthood, not because I didn't like the show, but because I was in movies and I was afraid if I did TV, I'd never be in movies again.
Right. And you didn't know that was like literally 1 year away from like Meryl Streep.
Mass migration to TV.
Mass migration
Yes.
because it's the life, man.
Uh-huh.
I mean, ER was great even for me.
Right.
That was fun.
And you did how long on ER?
I just was on one season and then I did like one episode and the next season, then I left. I just gotten married.
Mm-hmm.
The writer's strike, the big writer's strike was just about to happen.
Yeah.
And I have timed both my pregnancies to work.
Okay.
A real Planned Parenthood
Uh-huh.
situation here.
Yeah.
And so because I knew it was going to be a truncated pilot season and I wasn't like a regular on ER. I was just on, recurring.
Mm-hmm.
So I chose to kind of like opt out. And then I got pregnant with Birdie.
Mm-hmm.
The writer's strike did happen. And then Birdie was little. I had some sad auditions. And then I got Cougar Town.
And I'm friends with Bill.
Yes.
And unless he's completely lying to me about who he truly is, he seems like one of the funnest people you could probably work for. Bill Lawrence, the creator, or did he create this?
He
producer.
He co-created it with Kevin Beagle, who was a writer that I think had worked on Scrubs with him, and I think so. Oh my gosh! I mean, I could have said that and maybe made that up.
Monica
I'll
will,
find out
she'll
for our
fact
fact
check
check
it. We have a fact check after.
Oh wow, that's great! I love it.
Yeah.
I wish I'd had that on my autobiography. Turns out they don't do that.
Yeah.
So Bill is like the greatest, and because he's been married to an actress forever, he's like understanding of all of that part of it too, of what it is to be an actor and to have a family. And it was just like the perfect job at the perfect time for me, and something that I had an incredibly great time doing. And it was good for me at that time to have these women that I was working with who, had children, and I could kind of see like the future, because I was so in the baby thing and so
Were you guilt-ridden to be?
Oh, all of it.
Yeah.
All of it. Guilt-ridden, but also I had postpartum anxiety. I was convinced at every turn that I was like fucking Birdie up,
Sure.
that I was just ruining everything. And I didn't have a nanny the first year of her life. So even when I did the pilot, I asked the lady who had been cleaning my house to come
Sure.
to just come with me to work with the baby,
Right.
and stay in my trailer. I didn't know how to do anything. No one told me. And I was relatively on the early side of friends of mine who had babies. I was 29. And so even though my friends back home had babies, had kids, I was like, wait, but how do I do this thing with the baby?
But there is a guilt that's unique to women, and it's shameful that you guys are bridled with this. But like for even my wife, if she's at home with the kids, she feels guilty because she's not being a strong woman who's pursuing her dreams. And then if she's out pursuing her dreams, she feels guilty because she's not being the mom at home. So it's like it's fucking no win and wherever you're at.
I know. I think it is. No, I think we're just at a really interesting time in terms of gender roles and redefining, what the patriarchy has sort of ingrained into all of our beings.
Well, the bad news is I think all that's happening is now we too are taking on that guilt. Yes. Like I think basically I relate to her.
Right.
I feel guilty if I'm working. I feel guilty if I'm at home.
But that's progress.
I guess.
That's amazing.
I think progress would be no one feels guilty all the time.
Maybe
Everyone feels guilty and then no one feels guilty.
But maybe that's the way through, is like through the fire, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that what you have to do? So like maybe we all have to like go through this thing where we're, we all feel like shit, and then maybe. But I think that like it's modeling a different thing for kids, and they see a different like the participation and the dads and the moms and the moms and the moms and the dads and the dads and all of that stuff. And so again, it's about possibility, right? And so like we know what we see. And that's what can become possible.
Yeah, modeling versus talking.
Exactly.
It's like everyone needs to let off the throttle a little bit about us doing this perfectly.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. I mean, like when you asked me right in the beginning, like, what did your dad dream about for you? I was like, well, I don't fucking know. Like, I don't think my dad gave it a thought. He was just like, I don't know. These are my kids. Like, my kids are going to do something.
They're fed and they're sleeping with a roof over their head.
And like, I guess there was probably, because most of my family on both sides had higher education, there was I assume an assumption I was going to go to college, you know what I mean, and do something.
Yes.
And like have a career.
Yeah.
But beyond that, like, I don't know what these people do. It's so funny because I don't remember. I'm sure my mom did like arts and crafts and stuff with us. And she once she went back to work, she still was like the Girl Scout troop leader and, participated at school and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But I don't remember my mom ever like playing Barbies with me or, like getting down on the ground and playing with me. And that is something that like our generation of as we parent, so many parents I see like getting down on the ground and like really getting in there.
Oh, no, the activity my dad mapped out for us when I would visit him on the week was for he and I and my brother to go to fucking ACO Hardware so he could stroll aimlessly for 2.5 hours through there with he's got no project plans or anything. And that was our day.
This is so funny. This weekend on Saturday, we were just like running errands with our kids. And the little one is like playing tennis now and she really likes it. And so I don't want to like turn her into the thing where I'm making it like be her thing, but I do want to like encourage her to keep doing the thing that she likes. So we went to go get her a racket at this place called Racket Doctor. Oh. But it's hot. And so like, we're running errands. We're going to get her a thing.
Right. It's for her.
It's for her.
Yes.
And before that, we had gotten my older daughter a thing that was like for her that she needed, but that she wanted. It was like a need, but also a want.
Yeah.
And these girls were being so whiny and jerky in the back seat. And I was like, do you guys know what my dad made us do on weekends? First of all, the only thing that was allowed to be on television ever were car races.
Oh God, I would have gotten along great with him. Yeah.
That's it, just car races.
Yeah.
And then we would get in the car and we would go one of two places. We would go to Costco.
Oh yeah,
or which was actually kind of fun because of samples.
Oh yeah,
sure.
That was preferable to the hardware store, which
Yes.
was Home Depot. I spent so many hours of my childhood just, why?
Yes.
Why are
yes.
we looking at this? Like, there's no reason. My dad didn't we lived in like prefab houses in Scottsdale, Arizona. There was no like work to be done.
Right. This is the only time where I can relate to Kristen, who will spend an hour and a half in bed looking at websites of clothes.
Oh, I love
She's
it.
not
I love it so much.
Yeah, it's a
Me
very
too.
female activity.
I did it last night to try to calm myself down.
Yeah, it's
And then she's got a whole system where she fills a cart, but she doesn't buy it, but just putting them in the cart feels like buying it. And it's a whole thing. And the only time I can ever relate to that is going into Home Depot, and I go down every aisle and I'm like, I think I could use that. I think I need that.
This
I
is
think
so weird. Well, anyway, my girls were like very cranky about
Put out by
about
that.
these errand. Can't we just go home and do our Legos in our room? You leave us alone. I was like, no, we are running errands.
Yeah, it's a part of being alive.
Yes, that is a Saturday.
yeah.
Yeah.
Get used to it.
I have a friend who said they have a beautiful pool in the backyard, and he mentioned to his boys, "Why don't you guys go swimming? Let's go swimming." And the son said, "Okay, what do we get if we go swimming?"
No.
And he was like, "Uh-oh, time out."
We have had a few of those. We've had a few of those.
Yeah.
It's hard to raise people. And like we go, since I did that show in South Carolina, Vice Principals with Danny, we go back there every summer now.
Yeah.
Cricket's had 5 of her 6 birthdays.
Oh, wow. You go to Charleston?
We do.
And are you, buddy? We just interviewed Danny on
Yeah.
Friday.
Oh,
or
you did?
Thursday.
Oh, yeah, when we were here. Yeah.
I'm obsessed with him. I totally.
He's the greatest human of all time.
He's the greatest, right?
I'm obsessed. Like we've become really close friends with them, and
Nice.
they're just incredible people. And Danny's another person who I really feel like has always had a real vision of what he wants to say and what he wants to do, and he's doing it in such a like subversive, cool way that
Yes.
it's massively appealing to both the people that he's trying to include and have them maybe think a little bit differently once they see it projected back to them. I feel like he doesn't get enough credit.
And what I admire about him is that he at least appears to me to be doing things that are intrinsically motivated.
That's true.
But we just watched his newest show.
Righteous Gemstones. Yeah. It's incredible.
It's the best.
I could not believe how good it was.
I'm obsessed with it.
It's a comedic succession.
perfect.
It's got all this
Exactly.
drama.
That's exactly right.
Funny.
It is.
I mean, the humor is so special.
When Vice Principals came around, I was coming off of Queertown, and I'm at the point now, and it's so nice, and it's so fucking hilarious that I don't want to be an actor anymore. But I was, getting offered all the network shows and all that stuff, and I was like, I don't know. And then I get my television agent call me, and they're like, so Danny McBride's doing a new show for HBO, but like, they want you to audition. And I was like, yeah, 100%. Yes, I would love to go audition for Danny and Jody and David Gordon Green. Yes, please. Thank you.
Yeah.
I will. And they had like no information about what the character was. There were like some weird sides, and I don't even think any of it ended up in the show. But the joy of my life was that they asked me to do that show. Like it was such an incredible experience being there, and like,
They seem to really value process over all things, which is, to me, the North Star. That's my goal in life, is just to love process.
yeah. And he's also like, he has the same thing. He's like, man, like, we're so fucking lucky to do this shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's make it fun. Let's like give our friends jobs. Let's be loyal to people.
Yeah.
Let's call the same people back in again and again. And like, let's figure out a way to work with that guy because we like that guy.
Yeah.
And then like, also let's like make sure that everybody can bring their families, and that and then on every Sunday we have a barbecue at my house. Like, it is truly like, this is the way that it should be. And so many people, like from the sound guy, engineer, and the editor, they went to North Carolina School of the Arts. And when I say that guy is loyal, it's not a choice. It's just who he is. He's just loyal. And that to me is one of the biggest things. There was like a cameo at the end of Righteous Gemstones that they called, and they wanted me to come out and do, and I wanted to do it so fucking bad. And it was I just couldn't, because also Charleston, you have to take 2 planes to get there.
Right.
No direct flight.
Yeah.
Couldn't like fly in for it. I was really bummed. I'm very serious. Like, I don't really have a big interest in acting anymore. But I will do things that if friends ask me, or it's just, it has to be like that kind of.
For the experience.
For the experience.
Yeah. How I mostly know you is that my wife lays in bed and watches your Instagram stories.
Yeah.
And most of the females in my life watch your Instagram stories.
Yeah.
How many followers do you have on Instagram?
I don't know. I think, let's see.
Okay, let's pop in.
Oh, God. What did I mute? I muted someone? Nope. I'm weirdly bad at
operating the thing?
Yep.
Yeah,
Audience.
me too.
1.878.
Okay, great. I would imagine this increased as you started doing more and more stories.
I was an early story adapter.
Right.
Adopter.
You were quick to do the stories.
It was like literally like the first week they started. I started doing it.
I will ask you questions where you would be right to say back, who the fuck are you saying this? You're in commercials with your wives. Your wives.
Oh, jeez.
You're in
all of those wives.
By the way, I am in commercial with my wives because
Yeah,
Monica and I
that's
have
right.
done one as well.
Yeah.
We did a California tourism.
Yeah.
And so much of our life is out loud. So, but just know I'm recognizing if I ask these questions that I too, it's all a spectrum. And it's like, I don't know, who am I to say where anyone should be on it or not? The notion of like, okay, this is me. I'm not a character on TV. This is me. And I'm talking and you're seeing my real life, all that. What are your thoughts leading up to that?
Well, I do think that I was in a place career-wise where I was feeling stale. And I had finished Vice Principals. We were waiting for it to come out. Instagram stories started. I wasn't early into Instagram, though, by the way. I was early-ish on Twitter, which I really liked because I always had felt that my entire career since I started doing this, I had been misrepresented in the press, not in a malicious way, but they just didn't get it, period.
Right.
And you're at the mercy of this person who's like coming in with some preconceived notion, especially back then, obviously pre-internet, like who this girl is who plays Audrey on Dawson's Creek or Kim Kelly. And
I'm going to go through someone else's filter before it hits the page.
Yes.
That's just unavoidable.
That's
I don't
right.
care how objective this person is. And this person's also writing a story, and stories need archetypes. So I'm going to have to fit into an archetype for this to be a story that is broadly appealing. And I don't like that.
Right. It was just, it's incredibly reductive. And I am many, many, many fucking things. And then late night talk shows, the times that I would be on those for projects, you're reduced to, trying to get your punchline out for your 1.5 minutes that you have with Conan and hoping that he doesn't get to the punchline first because he knows it. And if he decides he wants it, he will take it. You know what I mean? So then you're just like, that's a panic inducing proposition and like almost a no-win situation for young talent a lot of times.
Let's add on to that.
Yeah.
Also, a very specific skill set to be able to be great on a late night talk show.
sure.
It's like the notion that actors in general are just going to be good at that thing
Right.
is a big leap.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
like it's a whole other thing. It was really sweet. I had a girl on my talk show. That's why I really liked doing the show because we would let people go longer and we would, I would like warm up and I would tell my own stories and then we just cut them out. It doesn't matter.
Right.
And there was a younger actress who was on my show and she's pretty big right now. And she just at one point, she was like, I'm sorry, I really don't know how to do this. And I was like, baby girl, no one does.
Right.
Like if you did know how to do this, there would be something wrong with you.
Yes, it's a very heightened reality.
Just it doesn't and there's no pressure. Like just let that go. So Twitter to me right in the beginning when times politically were a little bit more stable was really fun and great because I felt like for the first time I had a direct line to people that enjoyed me in things and I could kind of have somewhat of an expression of my personality and do whatever jokes or observations or weird things that have only occurred to me. And then I had friends that were joining Insta and I don't know, I'm not really, I don't take great pictures. And so I was like sort of late to that. But then once I joined, I really enjoyed it. And the thing also about Mark Silverstein is that he is actually an amazing photographer. So
Your husband.
Yeah,
is
I
a-
didn't realize that I had like a built-in Instagram boyfriend.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
that was helpful. And when I first joined Instagram, I thought that it would like mostly just be for my friends, like people I actually knew.
Right.
Like it didn't even occur to me. I had like 300 followers, and like we started like I would just share everything, like post the kids or whatever.
Right. So in your mind at that time, you're like, oh, my friends are going to be seeing what's going on
My
in
friends
my
were
house.
sick. Yeah, like my friends back in Arizona. Like that's like people always ask like, who's your favorite follow on Instagram? I'm like, my friend Christine from high school. 'Cause I like get to see the houses that she has listed and
Yeah.
her 13-year-old son. So we hadn't like theoretically thought about Mark and I about how I was sharing our lives or our kids or whatever. That came like a little bit later as it became clear that it was a thing. You guys were so unbelievably fucking incredible with the paparazzi with the children thing, because to me that was a thing where it was like it was just understood. And again, like I had lived with it for 4 years, you know, before you guys had your baby.
Right.
Where it was like, well,
Yeah.
everywhere I went with Birdie,
Yeah.
taking her to fucking camp, dropping her off at day camp. So for me, like controlling the narrative, again, it like became about me being able to control the narrative. You know?
Yeah.
I remember specifically like one, fucking lost it. I was pregnant with Cricket. I had taken Birdie to this carnival thing, you know, like a street fair by myself. And she had wanted a balloon and we got one and it popped and like the guy didn't have any more. And she lost her shit. She was like 4.5 and
Yeah.
she was temper tantruming like in an intense way. And I was pregnant and temper tantruming. And I was like kind of like trying to carry her, but I couldn't really because I was pretty pregnant.
Yeah.
And trying to carry her to the car, but like so kind of like dragging her.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and she's screaming and temper tantruming.
Yeah.
And
As if
I
there's a
start-
graceful way to subdue a
Yeah.
4-year-old and get her to the car.
like when the balloon popped and then the guy's like doesn't have any more and the
Yeah,
thing.
yeah,
It's like it was all a disaster. And I started crying and I look up and there's a fucking paparazzi.
Capturing all
The
of
whole
it.
thing.
Mhm.
The whole thing. And I had this moment and I was like, I think Birdie was just screaming. And I just looked at him and I was like, please, please. Like, just please. I didn't say anything else. I just kept saying, please. And he like waved and turned around and walked away. And I never saw those pictures, although to be fair, I never looked for them. But someone will find them, I'm sure, if they're out there. So Instagram, like this was, you know, around that time. It's like, I want to put the picture that I want to put out, you know?
Right.
Like, I want to like own it and not have to be at the mercy of the kid temper tantruming on the, you know, whatever it is.
But I am in no way judgmental. That people who would be inclined to call someone a hypocrite who doesn't want their kids photographed by paparazzi yet post pictures of their kids on the internet is simply who's taking the picture.
Right.
I just want them to think, is it a stranger dressed in cargo pants and military gear that
Right.
camped in your driveway? Or is
Right.
it mom who you love? And
Right.
all kids get their picture taken by mom
their
and dad.
parent. No.
But I do want to
Yes.
draw a distinction of like, well, that's a big distinction. You're in your house and you take a picture like any other.
Or you're at the fucking fair and you take a picture of your kid, you know, or you're in a public space and you take a picture of your kid. Like I'm allowed to take pictures of my kid.
Yes.
I don't love her having her picture taken by grown men
And then sold.
and then sold.
right. Trafficked.
That doesn't feel good to me.
Right.
But the rules that got very quickly became clear to me in terms of what it was and what it was going to be moving forward was about consent with them. And so Birdie, when she was 5, I explained it to her, like what Instagram is
Right.
and what people do with it. And I showed her different ones. And I was like, and this is mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I like put your picture on it sometimes. And then I put like a caption. And I was always aware and didn't want the caption to ever be something that she would like see later and be like, ew, why'd you call me an asshole? Or whatever it is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was like, so before I put any pictures of you on this thing, I'm going to ask you, do you want this picture to be put on this thing? And that means that like Grammy can see it and like friends of ours can see it, but also people you don't know can see it. And she's like, that's weird. And I was like, it is weird. It's just also a thing that is happening right now.
Yeah.
And so she's like, okay. And she exercises that consent. And so does Cricket. But Birdie like says no to maybe 90% of the photos.
Right.
She's like said, but although recently now she's like, I kind of don't care anymore. Like, if you want to post a picture of me, that's fine. But like, let me just, I just want to see it. And can I hear the caption? I was like, of course, always. I've never Instagrammed anyone else's children without consent from both their parents and the kid.
Yeah. It's all very interesting because, like all things, I want to levy a decision about all of it. You know, there's all these, like, I have some hard wiring of, like, I'm scared of social media. I don't know where it's all going. I'm not sure. I tell myself, now I don't know if this is a lie, I tell myself that if I wasn't running a couple businesses that required these outlets, that I think I would quit. I don't know if that's a lie or not, I'm telling myself. But when I have 2 weeks without it, like when we were in Michigan, I am happier. I think I'm happier.
I go back and forth about that too. I feel like that thing that I like initially said, like, the benefits of it are incredible. Like, it has made me feel so much closer to people that I genuinely love, that I live really far away from or don't get to see that frequently. Made me feel like more a part of their life and like I know what's happening. It's also like fucked with my head.
Sure.
Like, you know, and made me question like my own value and what I'm fucking doing with my life and what this all means. But then on the other hand, I get like a lot of really nice feedback from people all over.
Yeah, it can be. And a friend of ours was explaining his Instagram account, which is much different than yours and mine. But he described it as being in a closed feedback loop. So he writes these things. People generally that follow him love those things. So he's in like a positive closed loop, which I get the appeal of. But at the same time, there's another voice in my head. It's like, by reading anything about yourself, I am thinking about myself. And I do know that the less I think about myself, the happier I am. And I have to physically do things that I don't want to do to force me to stop thinking about myself. So I just know these two truths that I wrestle with.
Yeah, I kind of hold those too. But also like back to the whole thing about storytelling and like that's the way that you change people's hearts and minds. And I think that there's a real opportunity and something that I early on was doing organically, which was that the point of me sharing all of it was that we have sort of like lost this thread of connection. And this is like an incredible way to get it back, to send out like life rafts to people who need them at any particular moment. And you don't fucking know what anyone's going through at any given time. And even, you know, I've like watched as Sarah Silverman has used her Twitter to, you know, try to engage with people who would be like considered a troll. And like, what I see from your profile that you're like in a lot of pain. Is there anything I can do to help? Does anyone know how we can help this guy? And like how that's like transformative.
Yeah.
Because people really just want to be seen and they want to be heard and they want someone to reach out. I think that so many people want someone to reach out. Again, you know, as a communalist, I am that in this space as well, which is that I want to like share these things for a myriad of reasons, like for connection, for entertainment, so that somebody can like, you know, feel seen and so I can feel seen. The beginning of it, like what was really always super fun for me was building like stories and building the narrative every day. Like, what is the story today? And I know people probably had some sort of thought that perhaps I had like not given any thought to anything that I was doing, but I really was interested in it as like a medium.
And I have to imagine that did lead to your talk show.
For sure, yeah.
Right?
100%. Yeah. The talk show was my idea of like what the expression of Instagram on a more traditional platform would be. And I have to say, like, honestly, 4 months out or away from it, I mean, my show was insanely creatively and culturally successful. We had like over 4,000 pieces of unique press written about our show in 6 months in 105 episodes. That's like fucking nuts. And none of it was, I mean, well, no, there were some reviews in the first week that were positive because I think bros were like, what is this? This isn't made for me. I don't get it.
Yeah.
But other than that, like all of the pieces of press, like about the celebrities and the stories and all of that stuff, they were all positive.
Right.
It wasn't I just wanted to put something nice into the world, you know, like, and have a different perspective, which I do, obviously, for many reasons. But yeah.
Right. So you loved it.
I did love it. Yeah, I really loved it. I really loved it.
Are you going to find a way now to do some other version of it?
Ish, kind of, I think. I don't know. I'm working it out literally this week.
Have you met with Quibbly? Are they one of the people
They don't want to meet with me.
Oh, they don't?
No, I think maybe, I mean, this is just conjecture, but I mean, I can't imagine that someone would hate me so much to like not even want to take a meeting. So the only thing I can think is that somebody there is like bummed about something I said in my book. Which is possible.
Oh, sure.
And you know what? That's fine.
Right. Yeah, if you're being honest and there's fallout, you just got. See, this, by the way, is ultimately, to bring it all the way full circle, this is not to say that it's better to be an individualist or a communalist. I don't think one is right or wrong, and I think we need both kinds of people on planet Earth. You got to be able to live with the fact that some people are going to hate you.
Yeah.
And it's probably their thing and not your thing. And it's actually okay if there are people on planet Earth that hate you.
Yeah.
That are outside of your circle.
Yeah, it's weird. I think that that was what was really freeing about writing the book. And that was what freed me. I used to suffer from being very concerned and being concerned that somebody, at Disneyland was like, oh, this isn't a great time. I'm just with my family. Thank you. Like, so nice to meet you though, that they would think I was whatever. And not just that, like lots of stuff. But after deciding to write my book in the way that I did and putting it into the world, I did have to let go of, people are not going to like what I had to say. Some people are not going to like my takes. And that's not on me. It's not for me to internalize or be concerned about because I can't.
I think we all do it. It's like you break up with somebody and then it is too uncomfortable to think that they might now not like you. Mm-hmm. And so people stay like half in a relationship through like just... No, not, still being there for them and all this stuff. And it's really, they're acting like it's a selfless act. But in truth, it is really just, I can't live with the notion that this person I like now hates me.
Right.
But sometimes through your actions and other things, that's just part of being on planet Earth.
That's kind of the deal.
Yeah. Busy, you're wonderful.
Thanks,
I will,
Zach.
Going forward, I can make you a couple promises.
Okay.
I will never suggest that we have been confused as dating in the future. I will never, ever not remember you when I see you, and I apologize. I did that. I hope you will do something else that you're going to come back and talk to us about.
I will. Was it one thing? Do you know that I said at the end of my show every night, I would look into the camera and say, I love you?
Oh.
I would say, good night, you guys. I love you.
Oh, we do something similar here.
And it was like a thing that I just did the first show that we had because I was like just overwhelmed by the idea. And it was like sort of this nice thing and the camera's so close. And I was like, good night, you guys. I love you. And so many people in the last year have come up to me and just expressed gratitude for having that intimate moment with someone saying, I love you, because for many reasons, like, because a lot of people don't get it. Like a lot of people don't hear like before they go to bed, I love you.
Yes.
And it's like a nice thing. It's a thing everybody should have.
I totally agree. And people are stingy with it. Not over here though. We love you.
I love you.
Yeah, we love you.
Thank you so much for coming.
Yeah,
and I hope you'll come back.
I will.
Much love.
Thank you.
And now my favorite part of the show, the fact check with my soulmate, Monica Padman. Busy Phillips, the king of the wild frontier. Davy Crockett.
Yay.
Yay. You don't know the Davy Crockett song. I'm done.
Okay.
Oh, you guys always talk so much about the song. I think it's so embarrassing. I can't fucking get out of it.
It's okay. You're allowed to talk about your song.
Not really.
Why?
Because if the explanation of the song takes longer than the song did, it's kind of like explaining a joke. Just don't tell the joke if you got to explain it forever.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's true. You're right.
You're right. When you're right, you're wrong.
Busy. She was so great.
She was. And I'll say it. I only really was exposed to her through listening to my wife watch her on Instagram in bed.
Yeah.
And that's not a great environment to appreciate someone, because I just want my wife to get off her phone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So no matter who she's watching, I would be like, why the fuck are you watching that person?
Yes.
You follow me?
Of course.
So I guess maybe I was, 1% predisposed to go like, I don't know, this is this woman my wife watches, and I wanted to put the phone down. And then I just really enjoyed the shit out of her. I guess that was a long way to say that.
Yes, I agree.
Those are kind of my favorites.
Even though you were exposed to her, as it turns out, as we learn in the interview,
That's true.
many times.
That's true. To my embarrassment.
Yeah, it's funny how that happens. It hurts people's feelings.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, no one's doing anything on purpose.
Yeah. And again, I'll say, like, I expect people not to remember me. Like, that's my expectation. So if someone remembers me, I'm actually just delighted. But by my going in, my expectation is like, this person's not going to remember meeting me. I'm not important, blah, 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 blah. I guess I assume other people assume that, but they don't. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I think it depends on probably how many times you've met a person and
If you had a substantial conversation.
Yeah, I don't think it's about being important as much as like, I'm a person on Earth and we've had some level of connection for 6 or 7 times.
Yeah.
Why is that not registering?
Yeah, and then you add in so I think everyone in general has this problem, like
Yes.
backyard barbecues. Mike, we've met 3 times. So there's like one fear of being forgettable,
Yeah.
right? But then also if you're an actor, there's another layer of like, oh, you don't think I'm famous enough or successful enough to have remembered. So I think there's like
Yeah.
I don't think when someone doesn't remember you at a barbecue, you're like, oh, because I'm not a lawyer, you don't remember me. Does that make sense? There's like an implied status part of it.
Yeah, but I think that's implied always.
both.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, I guess you're better than me because you don't remember this and I do.
Right.
Like, what about your life makes it so that you don't need to remember your interactions?
Yeah.
I don't really know if it's about.
But in general, we've had like 7 or 8 guests that I remember meeting them and they don't remember at all meeting
Sure.
me. That seems to be the most common.
Yeah. It does get different with actors because you do remember meeting the ones that you.
Although I didn't remember
Right,
meeting John
John Hamm,
Hamm,
yes.
which is so weird.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, I'm just inclined to think he was wrong.
Oh.
Like, I
No,
think
but-
you would remember that, like,
Well-
especially knowing you, unless you were on drugs.
No, I was dead sober. But I can give one other example of how I do think it's possible. And here's how. I was driving down the road and I was randomly thinking of Whoopi Goldberg. And I was like, God, I love Whoopi Goldberg. She's so cool. She's always been so cool.
Yeah.
I'd love to meet her. And then I was like, I have a memory of hugging her. How could I have hugged her? I've never met her, but I have this memory. And then so I typed into YouTube,
Right.
Whoopi Goldberg, Dax Shepard,
Yeah.
and by God, a couple episodes of The View came up. I didn't even remember I did The View. Now, why wouldn't I remember doing The View? It's a very popular show. I know all about it. I know who's on it. But in the haze of promoting things, I've done that show a couple times and had forgotten. And I was like, oh, here we go. Right here. I've talked to her. And yes, I hugged her backstage. That's where I hugged her.
Yeah.
How on earth could I have forgotten I was on The View?
Yeah.
And it just happened.
Yeah.
There's 16 years of going on talk shows. I have forgotten some of them. But I would think that's impossible or entitled or bratty or something.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'm those things.
Not
Little bit.
always.
Not always. With parking, I'm terribly entitled.
You know, it's funny. I think that story triggers Jess so much.
The View one?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
It's come up a few times and I can see in him that he does not like that you couldn't remember that.
Right. Because it should be important.
Or not important, but like, you know, he was with you throughout the struggle. So I think
Uh-huh.
he's like, how could that person who wanted this thing so badly forget? Which I get, and I totally get the other thing. And I actually think it's healthy to forget or to not put importance on it.
I do too. I think when I was earlier in my career, I was evaluating everything. Am I on that show? Am I not on that show? What show said yes to me? Which said
Yeah.
no? Everything was so important. And now it's like people say yes to me and they don't. Say like the Fallon won't have me on. I don't know why. It's okay. That would have killed me 10 years ago. And I'm like, I'm not even going to guess why that is.
Yeah.
So for my own personal growth, I feel like it's positive.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I can see both sides
Mhm.
of that.
Trigger warning.
Well, I mean, because it can feel like you're taking it for granted or something, but that's not what's happening.
Yeah.
Also, these aren't important things.
They're not
Talk
important
shows and
things.
stuff.
No.
They're just not.
They're fun.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Speaking of our friend who works at Houston,
Jess.
Jess.
Yep.
There was a Houston shout out in this episode. Busy was talking about Houston's.
There's a lot of Houston shout outs, aren't there?
Man, I want
to go right now.
Me too.
So fucking bad.
I wonder if I could convince my parents to do that instead of pizza and go again.
Yeah, I wish my kids were fucking more behaved there. It's half the experience when you bring those two knuckleheads.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It's a long time for them to sit. Well, it's not even that long, actually. They're brats, I guess.
No, they're just kids.
They're kids. Oh, okay, they're kids. I want to go so bad.
But you know
then
what?
again, I don't even know what I would eat. I know.
Yeah, I thought about that recently because my birthday's coming up.
I know.
And I was thinking we should all go, but I was like, kind of can't.
No, I can go. I'll go and eat a steak. I'll eat a steak and vegetables, and I bet it'll be the best steak I've ever had.
Will you be so sad you can't eat the other stuff?
No. And maybe for your birthday, I'll have a little cheat.
But I don't want you to cheat then.
August 24th.
I don't know what we're going to do. Kristen's going to be gone.
She is?
She's going to be in Anaheim for D23.
Oh. Let's have her take the kids.
To Anaheim.
And you and I will post up at Houston starting at noon. We'll have lunch there.
Oh.
And then we'll go take a nap in the parking lot in the Pacifica. And then we'll come back in for dinner. Wouldn't that be the best birthday ever?
Oh, my God. That would be fulfilling and fulfilling. Yeah, wow.
Wow. I mean, we are very pro Houstons.
Couldn't be more
No,
pro,
it's probably
actually.
it's like our church almost.
Yeah. If I get married, then Houston's will cater my wedding.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you'd get married in Houston.
Okay,
which would
that's
be
another option.
awesome.
So you said that you were sitting next to a Phillips at a poker game. This is why you thought that you and Busy had been sitting next to each other, and then you asked her. Yeah, but it's Ione Skye.
Isn't she though one of the Phillips?
I looked her up on Wikipedia. It didn't say anything about that.
She is related to that family that I thought was Phillips. I mean, it would be no shock if there's no factual.
I don't think so. Which Phillips family are you talking about? Like the Phillips, like tools? Phillips head tool? Which one are you talking about?
Bijou Phillips. I thought she was in that Bijou Phillips family.
Okay, look up that person.
Okay. Bijou Phillips, China Phillips, Mackenzie Phillips, Tamerlan Phillips, Jeffrey Phillips.
Okay.
So, Ione Skye, what am I even talking about? No, she's not even. The whole thing was
she's
completely.
Not connected.
She's connected in no way. What a waste of everyone's time and energy. It was particularly my own. I'm the one who has wasted the most amount of time thinking this.
And I did see the picture, and
Does it look like we're dating in the photo?
it doesn't. It looks like you like her.
Oh, I did. She's awesome. Ione Skye. She was probably the best person I could have got seated next to.
Okay.
That poker game. She was a blast.
But you're kind of looking at her with like,
Googly eyes?
yeah, it does look like that a little bit. So it's probably why Howard thought that.
Well, it's why that website said
sure.
that. Yeah. Who
Sure.
dated who?
Which
I hate
Howard-
even giving them a plug because it's so inaccurate.
That's true. Okay, so she tells the story of Tiffany Haddish leaving a tape recorder behind the audition.
Yeah.
She did do that.
Good for her.
Yeah, she admitted to secretly taping what was said about her at auditions after she left by, quote, accidentally leaving her bag behind with her phone recording everything inside.
Ooh.
It was the Hollywood Reporter Actress Roundtable, Comedy Actress Roundtable. The Girls Trip star revealed some of the racist things that were said behind her back, including being, quote, too ghetto, quote, not as urban as you'd think, or just plain, quote, actually, let's change this role to a white girl.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
And again, we just interviewed someone where this came up, but like this thing of you're either too black or not black enough or too urban or not. It's like
there's no winning.
There's no fucking winning.
Unless you're white.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's stuff there too. There's still stuff of like, she's too cute. She's not cute enough. Like all those
Too old,
things.
too young.
Yeah.
Too
it just
fat,
feels
too skinny.
It just is
too smart,
extra.
too dumb.
Yeah.
Too hot, too ugly. Did I went off the rails?
No, all those are right.
I was thinking of opposites. Did I do
Those
a good
were
job
good
with opposites?
opposites.
There's a good
Yeah,
opposites.
yeah.
Okay.
That was a good job with your opposites.
Thank you. Good opposites, friend.
To hear that, ugh.
It could be one or the other. It could be like, I feel like they're saying this about me and I'll never know, but I'm damn certain. And then if you get confirmation in a weird way, it could be kind of a Pyrrhic victory where it's like,
That's
well,
what
at least
I mean.
I'm right.
I think you probably feel like I knew it.
Yes.
But then is that help? I mean, it's obviously helpful. She's a huge star.
Yes.
And she deserves all
You
of
can't
that.
stand in her way.
No, and
Yeah.
you shouldn't try.
Yeah. I love her.
Yeah, I do too.
Oh, I
She's
love
so
her.
Great. I wish you could come on here.
I know. I've watched like some of her videos she makes just talking into her phone while she's weirdly. I've watched hers of those. Probably because my wife wasn't watching them in bed. But I watch them and I love them. She'll just be airing her thoughts.
Yeah.
And I love them.
Me too. I'm sad that she had to hear that.
Yeah, me too. And I'm happy she busted them.
Me too.
It's a lot to be sad about and happy about.
Yeah, another set of opposites.
Oh, sad and happy. Sappy should be a mix of those two words, and it's not really.
It's that
Or is it?
It kind of is.
Okay.
I mean,
It's like sad, but it's giving you like warm fuzzies. That's the happy
that's
part.
sort of, yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I guess it is a good mix.
Yeah, I think it's exactly the right mix. They nailed it. She said, when did Who Wants to Be a Millionaire premiere? 20 years ago. She said it aired on August 16th, 1999. 20 years ago. Almost, wow. Almost exactly.
Whoa.
Busy. Good job. You know, she probably knew because she was saying it got on the air when Freaks and Geeks was canceled.
Oh, right. So you would remember
She probably remembers
the
that.
cancellation.
Yeah. What a good show. You never
Yeah.
watched it, right?
No.
Yeah, it's a great show. Really
Yeah.
good coming of age. I feel like you'd really
It
like
has to be. Everyone loves it. It's
Yeah.
like The Wire.
Yeah.
I know if I sat down and watched it, I would love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you would especially like
I do.
relate to a lot of it.
Mhm.
There's like some
Because they're all white.
sadness. Yeah. That's why. Yeah. But it's really, really, really good.
I'm going to watch it.
Watch it.
Yeah. I got to get through Ron Mars first. I just
The
started that
new season of Ronnie. Yeah.
first episode. Liked it a lot.
I've watched it from beginning to end. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's damn good.
I would recommend it. Start from the beginning if you haven't started from the beginning, though.
You mean from the original
Season
TV show?
one.
Yeah. Yeah, that helps, I think.
Yeah, you need the whole context of Veronica.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I love Veronica.
Yeah. Do you wish you worked for Veronica?
I'd love to work for Veronica. We'd get
Yeah.
along.
Yeah, a couple of hard-nosed.
I don't think I'd be
Spicy.
very good detective, though, for a few reasons.
Tell me.
One, I'm not very observant.
Oh, right.
So I think things might happen without my knowledge.
Yep. We experience this a lot when we watch TV together. I'll go like, wow, that guy's tongue is the longest tongue I've ever seen. You're like, what? And then you look and you're like, oh, that is a large. And I'm just like, how could you have missed that?
Yeah.
You think that's being mean.
I'm happy that I don't notice those things,
Right.
especially physical things.
Uh-huh. What if a guy's walking with crutches? Will you not see the crutches?
No, I will, but only if I'm like looking at him. Like, it's not like if I'm walking down the street and there's someone walking by with crutches that I'll necessarily notice.
Right.
But then if my vision gets pulled, then I'll be like, oh, that person and that person has crutches.
Well, wasn't it funny when my mom was visiting for a few months and you started watching TV with the two of us, and she's like, that person's, their forehead's red. And it's like, we're neither of us, we're not even listening to what's being said. We're just like,
I guess I didn't notice it too much with your mom, but maybe because when I know I'm watching TV with you, I know that's going to happen.
It's gonna
So
go.
maybe, and my mother, Kristen, is the same.
Yeah.
You two together are
we'll find everything.
constantly finding stuff.
Oh, so
like
she has
that.
to pause and go like, their lace front wig is showing.
She's the hair police.
Yeah, they didn't blend in the makeup on this lace front wig.
Yeah.
And we all have to stare while she points at it. We're like, yeah, we saw it.
Sometimes she uses a laser pointer.
She's like, she'll pause and she'll get the laser pointer. She's like, see, their real hair stops there, right there.
Right. And yeah, she's a hair police and she'll point it out. And I will be honest, 98% of the time, I have no idea. She's laser pointing it and I'm like, I don't see it. I don't see what you're talking about.
Well, one of the things also is whatever your nature is, that's at a base, but also you should wear glasses and you don't.
Oh, well, that's true. My vision isn't perfect.
Yeah, so you're actually physically, you're not seeing as much detail as
Yeah.
she and I are.
And I've said this before. I'm happier that way.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to,
Yeah.
you're just evaluating people on whatever message they're sending, and that's the dream.
Like when I first got my glasses and I put my glasses on, I was like, oh no, like I look worse than I thought, which already wasn't great. And everybody kind of looks a little worse than I thought.
Okay.
Everything got just like a little uglier.
Okay, a little sharper.
So I felt better about not wearing those.
What if someone has an excessive amount of spittle in the corner of their mouths? Can you handle that?
I prefer not to see that.
But will you notice that? Because once I see that, like it's generally in an interview, maybe with a politician, it's never like on television. That it doesn't make, it doesn't pass the muster of a filmed show.
Okay.
But you'll see an interview and all of a sudden the corner of some guy's mouth, it's generally a guy.
Ew,
you start getting that. I don't even go into it. Someone will throw up. But we all know what I'm talking about.
I do know.
Once I identify that, I'm best to just turn the channel because I'll try my hardest to just concentrate on what they're saying. And all I can do is stare at that. And it's kind of like that horse poop in the woods. I make myself stare at it until I get sick.
Well, okay.
It makes me physically sick when people have foam in the corners of their mouth.
Ew. Well, yeah, that's not.
And I'm so neurotic about it. It's one of my biggest pet peeves that I, for years, like an OCD tick, I'd always wipe the corner. I probably still do it. I always am just doing a safety wipe of the corners of my mouth. I've never even caught myself with that foam or paste or whatever you want to call it.
Ew, don't call it a paste.
Okay. The buildup, yeah.
People are turning it off.
Okay. So I just will habitually stroke the corners of my mouth just to make sure that
Have
never
I ever
happens.
had
You've never had it.
Okay.
You've never had it. Oh, another thing I get panicked about is like midday eye boogers. I do not want, and especially if I'm at work shooting, and then I kind of too much. I just go like this. You've seen me do this. I just do this.
Yeah.
I take my my middle finger and my thumb, and I just pop them in the corners of my eyes, closest to my nose, the proximal side of my eyes. And I just dab to make sure I don't have any boogers in there.
I didn't know that's what you were doing.
But you've seen me do it a lot,
but
right?
It looks like you're just like tired. That's what tired people do.
It is.
They put their fingers
That's
there.
the ASL sign for tired.
That's the
Might be.
universal sign. When people are doing that, it's like they're fatigued, they're stressed.
Yeah.
They normally take off their glasses and like they have to rest their eyes and put their fingers up by there. But you're checking for boogers. I'm never, ever concerned about that.
Yeah, that's great. That's healthy. I think that's a testament to your self-esteem.
I don't think I get very many.
No.
Maybe it's genetic.
Yeah. And when you're talking to someone in real life and they have that, whoa. It is hard for me to come off of it.
Yeah, you're right. I don't like that at all. But I think I'm more prone to notice stuff like that on somebody I don't like.
Sure.
So,
Sure.
And then it just gets mixed in with all the things I already don't like about them. So
Yeah.
someone I like, I guess I don't really know if they have that.
But I'm just going to make a case for myself for 1 second. It's not like I'm grossed out by people that were born with something that they have no control over. When you are doing something out of your own negligence, I'm going to hold you accountable. It would be like if I just blew my fucking nose onto my mustache and I walked around and was like, tough shit. This is the regard I have for my presenting self. No. If you know you're prone to have that gunk in the corner of your mouth, stay on top of it. I'm okay. It's okay for me to expect you to have that level of self-maintenance and cleanliness.
They might not know. They might not know it's happening.
I think that's their own arrogance. Check in with your... Clearly I don't know. You're right. I guess someone could be unaware of it, but I don't think they are.
My dad sometimes has food all over his face.
That's adorable, though. Food? That's not a bodily fluid.
Well, no, it's not. But
yeah. It's when you get into the
it's
bodily...
still, I don't know what's going on with my face.
Yeah.
So,
but again, if someone blew their nose into their mustache,
stop saying that. That's so disgusting.
Don't you think you'd have a right to be repulsed by it?
Yes.
Okay.
Course.
Well, then why is this?
I'm not saying you don't have a right to be repulsed. I'm just saying have some compassion for these people. They don't know, probably.
Well, I think I told you one time we were out to eat with a married couple, and the man had a very, very, very long hair growing out of the end of his nose. And I actually wasn't mad at him. I was mad at his wife.
That's also not fair.
No.
If
Kristen ever has a big, long hair growing out of her lip or something, you should be mad at me because I'm looking at her face, and it's my job to go, oh, honey, you got a stray hair coming out of that mole. That's our job to one another.
Okay, well,
I think someone's been neglectful of their duties. Okay.
Sure.
Let's move on to busy now.
Okay, so she said Linda was the oldest on Freaks and Geeks. She was born 1975.
Oh, we're the same age.
Same age. Old.
Mm-mm. You can call me old. You can't call her old.
Well,
You
it
better
just seems
clarify.
objective because if you're old, then she has to be old.
No.
Sorry, Linda.
I think you can call a man old, but I don't think you should call a woman old.
Well,
It's a
look-
double standard I have.
Okay. Well, I don't have that. I'm
Yeah.
equal opportunity old. White Chicks box office. So she was saying it didn't do well.
Okay.
It grossed 19.7 million
All in.
in its opening weekend.
Oh, that's tremendous.
Exactly. That's
a $20 million opening.
taking the number 2 spot.
Oh.
So
And would it make $58 million?
it finished 70 million
That is a huge movie.
At
What
the
is she
box
talking about? I've never been in a movie that big.
and 42 million in other territories. So worldwide,
100
113 million.
Guys, I would chop off my deformed toe to have a fucking $113 million.
Yeah.
If Chips had done $113 million, thank God it didn't, because we wouldn't have this podcast. But
Yeah, it all works out.
but I would have been doing the chicken dance on Main Street.
I know.
You know that old saying.
Yeah.
I'd be doing the chicken dance on Main Street.
It all works out the way it's supposed to.
What was the thing that was on John Oliver this week or last week? It was clips of Shepard Smith. And they did a montage of him saying something.
The kitten. Something about the kitten.
Well, Molly was a kitten, but she's a full-grown cat now. And the weirdest saying you could ever hear. And he has said it 100 times.
That's his catchphrase.
And it's evolved. Now he says, like, yeah, that's back when Molly was a kitten and she's not hanging on. Yeah, she's dead now. It's changed to like she's hanging on to her
dead
life now.
Oh
Yes.
my God.
She's a full-grown cat for a long time, and now it's become like she's dead. And
Well, someone finally asked, "Who is this?"
yes,
Yeah,
and
is it about one person?
Is his aunt used to say it? I guess
Nana or something.
Yeah, Nana. You're right. Well, that's back when Molly was a kitten. She's a full-grown cat now. What, excuse me, sir?
But is that, okay, wait, is that a phrase?
It's a way to say that was a long time ago.
Okay, so he's not actually talking about a person.
He's talking about a cat. So you would go like, Obama was against gay marriage. And you go, yeah, but that's back when Molly was a kitten and she's a full-grown cat now.
Okay.
I can't even believe I'm saying it with like, trying to sell it.
Okay.
I'm trying to actually make sense of it. It doesn't really make a ton of sense, but
He is using it to like throw in when it, quote, makes sense.
yes, that was a while ago.
He's not just telling people, Molly was a kitten and now.
He's like, what's the weather like
full-grown
today,
cat.
Mike? He's like, it's going to be 80 all day. Great. Well, Molly used to be a kitten, but she's a full-grown cat
I
now.
wanted to make sure that wasn't.
I bet it has come in at a time where it wasn't really related. Just with the frequency he's using it, he's playing it fast and loose with that. He's delivering it like it is an old axiom that everyone knows.
Right.
But it is unique to his family. Oh my God, it's so weird.
So she said, I love you at the end of Busy Tonight into the camera.
Oh, uh-huh.
And I thought that was really sweet. Her explanation of that was really sweet because she said, because not everyone gets to hear that right before they go to bed. And everyone deserves to hear that before they go to bed. And I thought that was lovely. I liked that a lot.
It is really lovely. That would be a 30-minute debate between Chris and I in bed where it's just, I'm so literal and I get stuck in it. I'd be
What do
like,
you mean?
well, so she'd go like, oh, that's so nice that they say I love you because some people don't get told I love you. And then I would go, yeah, but they're being told that they're loved by someone they've never met in their life. It doesn't really, like I get bogged down in like, okay, well, what does that really mean? You're laying in bed. Someone you've never met says, I love you. Could you really take that on? I couldn't take that on. If I saw a Letterman say, I love you, I wouldn't actually feel it. So it's like a nice sentiment, but in practice, is it real? And then we would get spiraled out on this and she'd just basically go, you're a piece of shit and I'm a nice person. And she'd be right.
I think it feels good. I don't think it feels as good as someone
Right.
who you know saying it and who you can feel the weight of it. But I still think it's better than not hearing it.
Yeah, I think the best walk away for me, okay, maybe you're right about 90% of the people it has no impact on. But for the 10%, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't you do something that would, even if it's 1%
Yeah.
of people, or even if it's 1 in a million people felt good,
Yeah.
then do it. And that's where I'm dead wrong. But I get bogged down in the details of, it's just how my brain
I
works.
get it. But don't you like hearing that before bed?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But I want to hear it from someone that loves me.
But maybe because you do. you do get that.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
Yeah.
if you didn't get it, you might feel a little differently.
In the
'Cause
absence of that, yeah.
I don't often get it, and I thought that was a very sweet sentiment. I think it's a nice, good thing to hear before you shut your eyes and fall asleep.
It's a very positive thing to receive,
Yeah.
no matter how you receive
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was really lovely.
Yeah.
That is all.
That was it?
Yeah.
We ended it on I love you.
Yeah, we
Well,
did.
that's perfect.
That's right.
Because I love you.
I love you.
Wobby Wob, I love you. In
Love
case
you.
Natalie doesn't tell you tonight as
Oh,
you drift
no.
off.
Does she tell you?
We used to, but we don't
Guys,
before bed anymore.
bring
I
it
usually fall
back.
asleep before.
you got to bring it back. You don't know how many of those you're going to get. Sorry to make it a downer, but
Oh, someone's going to die in this equation?
well, you just don't know. It's
That's
a nice
true.
way to end the evening.
I think so.
Yeah.
Well, and there's actually data on like people who kiss their spouse when they come in the house live longer. There's like
That's
shit
nice.
like that where it's like, yeah, it has some impact you can't imagine.
Yeah.
We do that.
You kiss each other?
Mhm.
Gross. Gross. All right. Well, I love you.
Love you.